Hello, welcome back to a brand new episode of the Pick a Side podcast. My name is Joel Moran, and I'm here with Andrew Velez and Joe Dehls. And later on, after the NFL mock draft, Riv and John will be joining us. In this episode, we're going to do the mock draft, talk about Aaron Rodgers being traded to the Jets, the Rockets hiring Ime Udoka, and debate whether or not the Kawhi and PG era is over, Cavaliers' next step, and Trae versus Dejounte. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing pretty great. I'm excited that the fact that the NFL draft is in 2 days. It's one of the best times of year, and it's come by pretty fast, faster than I expected. But no doubt about it, I'm ready for this mock draft. I'm ready to get these picks in. Joel, talk to me. How you doing, King?
Doing great, man. NFL draft's just one of my favorite days of the year. I feel like we haven't talked NFL. NBA playoffs, this is really one of the best first rounds of NBA playoffs I feel like we've seen in a while. With the upset, you got 3-1 Lakers up on the 2 seed. You got the 3-1 Heat up on the 1 seed. The Knicks up on the Cavs. Just so many things that are going unexpected maybe to some people. So I feel like football has just really been on the back burner. Now we've got the Rodgers news, NFL draft in 2 days. Just this whole week's been crazy for sports.
And also to let everybody know listening or watching right now, we will be back in the studio this week. Today, I'm heading back to New Jersey. My flight leaves at 11 p.m., so I'll be in New Jersey around 5 in the morning. So when we record, which should be Friday this week, we will be back in the studio. So this is the last digital show. I know a lot of you guys have been asking in the comment section whether or not we are going to doing virtual full time, and it's not the case. It was just a 1 month thing, but we're back Friday.
So excited. There's nothing like being in the studio, getting to touch some of my best friends, be in person, see you guys face to face. Know what I mean? Just doesn't hit the same over StreamYard.
You know, I watch a lot of pranks on TikTok, like farting in public pranks, moaning in people's ear pranks, just stupid stuff like
13.
that. And they're funny. They're funny as hell. And my girl was like, you know, you guys should do that type of content with each other in the studio and post it on TikTok. And I was like, that's not a bad idea. You know, just going into the studio, Drew recording, and I moan in Dell's ear to see how he reacts.
I mean, you already do it without anyone recording this, so might as well make some content out of it, right?
That's
yeah, I know exactly. We do all that type of stuff before we recorded, so might as well do it while we're being recorded.
I'm looking at these chat comments real quick because they're like, please God, no Lakers talk. One of these people saying I hate Andrew. My God, how rude is that? All because my Lakers win.
I saw someone comment on the last video saying I'm a diehard Lakers fan, but Drew makes me hate them. That should have me cracking up.
Yeah, no, I saw that. He's like, I've been a LeBron fan for 20 years. And something about it, I just cannot root for this team, and it's because of Andrew. I'm just like, bro, what kind of fan are you? What kind of fan are you that you're allowing another man to dictate who you fuck with? Like, that is insane to me.
Now, make sure you guys like this stream up. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. And make sure you guys review our podcast on Spotify, Apple. We're almost at 1,000 reviews on Spotify. We're at 800 something. So let's try to get to 1,000. And Dehls,
we're on the road to 50K. We're at 43.5 right now, man. We were at 25K was last year.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We're close. We're growing.
And now, Mr. Dehls, a proud sponsor of the Pick a Side podcast, has been Boom Fantasy. And you got some Boom Fantasy picks for us tonight.
Love Boom Fantasy. I got 4 players here, right? Typically, you guys make your own picks. But I said, you know what, let me grab 4 lines right here and see if we could create an entry together. First one, had to go with my guy. I'm repping the Celtics shirt. Jason Tatum, 30.5 points in the closeout game against Atlanta. No Dejounte Murray's playing. What do you guys think?
30 and a half points is his line?
30.5.
For Trae Young?
For Jason Tatum, where have you been?
This guy doesn't listen. He's 27 and a half.
And Trae Young. Okay.
Jason
30
Tatum,
and a half is a lot.
I'm going under on that. I mean, Jason Tatum is the under king. He never hits on the overs. He's the under. You know what,
Joel? Because I'm feeling a vibe right now, and I'm feeling good. I'm going over Jason Tatum for sure.
Okay, calm. Next one, your man Joel, Ant-Man, do or die game, game 5, down 3-1, 27.5 points.
I mean, that's easily over. He's going to get 30 tonight once again because Anthony Edwards is that type of guy. He's that type of dude. And Dehls, you've been sleeping on Ant-Man for a while now.
I haven't at all.
You've been sleeping on him.
Would it be 4 straight games if he had another 30 ball today?
It would be 4 straight.
Yeah, bro. He's been on a different level, and just the energy that he's bringing to Minnesota, I feel like he's gonna have another great game. So I'm gonna go over also.
Now, we were talking about generational or all-player performance last night, 3 a.m. we were up to. Today, Jamal Murray plays, who's been coveted as an all-time player performer as well. He's at 22.5 points in that same game.
I'm going
22.5. Yeah, I think the Nuggets close out tonight. I think that he needs to have a fire offensive performance in order to do so. So I'm going to go over as well. 3 overs today. Not ideal. One of those is going to lose.
And I got this last one here because he's been so dominant all playoffs long. Devin Booker, 30.5 points. Does he keep it up?
30.5 for D-Book. That's a bit of a high line. I'm
35.
Man.
You know what? I'm going to keep riding it. I'm going to ride it. I feel like regardless, the Clippers, they've tried to throw anything at Devin Booker, and it simply hasn't been working. Devin Booker's been the most consistent player for the Suns, and that's saying something with how great Kevin Durant has been himself. So I'm going to go over with Devin Booker, 4 straight over. So take that with a grain of salt.
Now, for me, D-Book, I don't want to pick this. I don't want to pick this. So I'm going 3-leg parlay on Boom Fantasy. Under on Tatum.
What do you
over
mean?
On Jamal Murray.
No. This is not how it
going
works.
over on Anthony Edwards.
This is not how it works. You're going to have to pick an answer, sir. Over or under.
And D-Book, listen, I'm just letting everybody know in the comment section right now, and if you're watching, if you're listening, I'm going with a 3-leg parlay. I'm being forced to pick a 4th right now. And if I'm being forced to do it,
that's what I was put through. So
I think this is a big-time KD game. I'm feeling it. So I'm
going
to
go
28.5. I'm going to go under on D-Book, and I'm going to do that 4-leg parlay.
Sounds good. And just as a reminder, we are giving away a copy of MLB The Show probably next week at the end of April. It's 25th right now. So this is one of your last few days to go ahead and get in. Pretty easy. All you got to do, go to the link, download Boom Fantasy, use code PICKASIDE, deposit $10 or more, and you'll be entered into the raffle. Maybe you win MLB The Show. I know Drew's been playing it a ton. He's been loving it. Riv just said he got it as well. So, yeah, go ahead and support the show, man. We're on a franchise tag, as Joel likes to say.
These sickos in the chat are getting crude, saying terrible, heinous things because I said that I'm going to ride. Like, as if that's not a common statement. I'm going to ride. I'm going to ride with my boys. I'm going to ride with the selections. Grow up. People in the chat are disgustingly crude.
Now, on to the first topic of the show, NFL mock draft. It's mock draft season. It's draft season. The NFL draft is on Thursday, this Thursday. And right here we have, if you're watching on YouTube, we have the mock draft in front of us for PFF. And we're going to start this bad boy. Now, what we do have to come up with is who is going to get which pick. So who's getting the first pick, who's getting the second overall pick, and who's getting the third pick.
How about since my Denver Broncos do not have a pick in this year's first round, I would love if you guys would do me the luxury of allowing me to select first overall. Would that be all right with y'all?
We could do that.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, I appreciate that.
What do you want, Joel? 2 or 3? I don't have a preference.
Listen, 2, 3. I'm gonna go with 2.
Okay, I think that's the harder of the 2 picks. So go for it.
I'm gonna go with 2, and I don't feel like doing a snake draft. We could if you guys want to. It's not. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter to me. So first pick in the NFL draft. Who are you picking, Drew?
Are you gonna hit my music, or that doesn't exist right now?
It doesn't exist right now.
We don't have music.
I'm absolutely gutted. I'm gutted. So with the first overall pick, the Carolina Panthers will be selecting their franchise quarterback, Bryce Young, out of Alabama. This is the obvious selection here. The rumors have been circulating recently that it's almost foregone conclusion Bryce Young will be the quarterback after a couple of weeks of believing that C.J. Stroud was going to be the quarterback. Bryce Young, to me, is the obvious candidate. I think he's the best quarterback in this draft, so I'm going to be selecting him number 1.
And when it comes to this draft, should we do any trades?
I was thinking about it, actually, but I feel like we're going to get too complicated. You're on a time crunch. Let's not get too crazy.
We could do trades if you guys want to. So if you guys want to trade up to a pick, you can. Houston Texans right now with PFF, there's 10 trade options. I'm not trying to do any of that. Now, when it comes to the Texans, all the rumors have been pointing to CJ Stroud dropping the draft. Right now, Will Levis is the favorite to go second overall. I don't think Will Levis is going to be the pick. I would be shocked if he is the pick. I'm going to go with the best defensive player in this draft. I know that there are concerns off the field, but I think Jalen Carter is the best defensive player in this draft.
Whoa.
And I'm going to select second overall.
Over Will Anderson.
Yeah.
The only reason why I say Will Anderson is because it seems as if he is the more safe selection here. No issues off the field. Obviously a great prospect himself. Jalen Carter, I understand that the talent's there, but I wonder if NFL franchises are going to be hesitant due to off-the-field issues.
I look at today's NFL, and I think that interior defensive linemen have been more valuable than edge rushers as of late because they can impact the game more. And Jalen Carter, I know that he has off-the-field issues, but listen, man, this guy is going to drop as far as 5, if anything. There's no way he gets past 5 to Seattle.
Apparently, the Seahawks aren't interested in Jalen Carter anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. I've heard some different rumors, but I think
it's draft season.
Yeah.
We're all going to hear different things, so I get where you're coming from.
I think 5 or 6 is going to be where he lands, and if I draft him at 2, I don't think that's overvaluing him. And this guy was the best player on the Georgia defense that was stacked. I think that he's the best player. He's going to be the best defense player in this draft. That's just my opinion.
I mean, he's definitely a talent there. Yeah.
He's 20, 21, 22, however old. He made a terrible mistake, but you got to hope that he could just move past it, realize it, and going forward, he could play some of his best football. I'm on the clock now with number 3 pick. I have the Cardinals. If we are doing trades, the first thing I'm doing is calling up a team that's a little far down the board. They're at 11, the Tennessee Titans. There's been rumors for months now that they're interested in trading up to get a quarterback. So if they were interested, the Cardinals could get 2 first-round picks, probably 2 second-round picks, a couple day 3 picks, because this team is terrible right now. So if I'm the Cardinals, I would be trying to move down. If we want to do that, I think I would project a trade here if we're able to get that to go through.
Okay, cool. We'll do a trade with the Tennessee Titans, correct?
Yeah. So we're moving down from 3 to 11. Just pick up all the draft capital and be even worse this year.
Okay, so I'm gonna have the trade go through. For some reason. Let me just add in more picks.
Yeah, just make it work.
And hit force this trade. Hit force this trade.
You're right.
In this case, we'll say it's 2 first, 2 seconds, maybe a day 3 pick. Moving up from 11 to 3 is a huge jump.
Yeah.
You don't give up that much capital unless you're taking a quarterback. Tennessee Titans, they still have Derrick Henry. They want to run the ball with Vrabel. It's a hard, tough-nosed team. I think they're going to go with the pocket passer here, though, and go with CJ Stroud.
CJ Stroud, number 3 to the Tennessee Titans. Very interesting pick. Now, we know Indianapolis at 4 also is quarterback needy. Drew, you have that pick. Is it Will Levis?
In my opinion, I do believe with the recent rumors, I think Will Levis will be the number 2 selection overall. With our current board, I guess people believe that CJ Stroud is not a lock to be a top 5 quarterback anymore. In my opinion, I think CJ Stroud is the locked and loaded number 2 quarterback in this draft. And I believe that the Colts would be absolutely foolish to pass on a quarterback here. Obviously, Joel making the right decision, taking CJ Stroud at 3. That would have been my move as well. But for number 4, I'm the Colts. I need a quarterback. I'm going with Anthony Richardson. I mean, I believe that this guy has the highest ceiling of these quarterbacks if they were to all reach their highest potential. I understand that he's not the most NFL ready. I look at Bryce. I look at CJ as more NFL ready. This is a guy that's going to probably sit for an entire season, but be ready next year to play prime football. This is one of the better athletes at the quarterback position that we've seen come out of a draft, maybe ever. So if I'm the Colts, I can't pass on that talent.
The number 5 overall pick. I was going to think about Anthony Richardson here. I think he'd be a Seattle guy. But I do think the Seahawks go defense, and it's between Will Anderson to me and Tyree Wilson, who isn't even rated that high on PFF right now, but I do believe he is somebody that they're going to look at for the sole reason that the Seahawks are a traits team. The Seahawks value traits more than what a player is right now. And although I think that Will Anderson is the better player right now, I think Tyree Wilson has more potential to be better. So with the 5th overall pick, I'm going to go with Tyree Wilson at edge.
What's going on with your disdain for Mr. Anderson? I'm very curious.
Passed on him twice.
Well, Jalen Carter is better than Will Anderson. I don't think that's a question.
This one specifically, Will Anderson, it's seeming as if he has been for months now, top 2, top 3, guaranteed, unless obviously these guys go quarterback. And defensive player wise, he's number 1 or number 2 off the board. So to see him now potentially, most likely, be 3, unless Joel throws us the curveball and takes a corner here.
Well, the only way Will Anderson is the first player selected off the board is because of Jalen Carter's off the field issues. Jalen Carter's a better player, and there are a lot of teams that have Tyree Wilson rated over Anderson on their draft boards. I think he's more of a traits guy, and I believe in Seattle to develop those type of players. Tariq Woolen was not a polished prospect; he was a traits guy, and they developed him. So I think that they can do the same thing with Tyree Wilson.
All right, Joey.
I respect it. Number 6, this is pretty easy. I understand the argument for corner here. They picked up a couple in free agency, but they're more Band-Aids than actual corners that are going to be there long term, with Cameron Sutton and a couple of those other guys. But I see Will Anderson on the board, and he's going to be my pick. This is kind of a no-brainer. I think the Lions would rush up to the podium to make this selection. Will Anderson, 3-year starter at Alabama. I mean, last year people were saying he consensus number 1 overall pick. There might be some prospect fatigue there. Had over 200 pressures at Bama over those 3 years. And you pair him with Aiden Hutchinson, all of a sudden you have arguably the best young pass rushing duo in the NFL.
So that means that I'm up right now on the clock with the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, the Raiders, they need a lot. Obviously, they need a quarterback. You need all line. They need a bunch of defensive help, both in the secondary and on the line. This becomes tricky because, again, I personally am not a Will Levis fan. I think that obviously the hype behind him recently has been shocking to me personally. And I feel if I'm the Raiders, I try and do my best to be bad next season to try and be in the running for a Mr. Caleb Williams. And understanding that they need help on the offensive line pretty terribly, I'm going to go with Peter Skoronski out of Northwestern guard. This guy, to me, is the best offensive lineman in this draft. The Raiders desperately need offensive line help. I think that Will Levis, we'll see. I could be wrong about it, but that's not a quarterback that I would want to be my franchise or have the keys to be my franchise quarterback, because to me, I just don't see it. He just has his game to be a little bit – his game needs to be more refined, and my offensive line needs help if I'm the Raiders.
And I don't know if McDaniels wants a rookie quarterback. I know all the rumors has been tied Levis to, I guess, Indy, but also Las Vegas. But you just paid Garoppolo pretty good money. I know not a ton of guaranteed, but decent money. McDaniels probably wants to win year in, year two. You got Devontae Adams there, who you just traded for. Move off Derek Carr. I know we think they're rebuilding, but I think McDaniels probably feels some pressure to win, especially after a disappointing season. So I agree with this picture. I don't think they're going to go quarterback. I do think they would go with tackle or another position.
I think it's for them. It's cornerback or tackle. I would have went with Davon Witherspoon. I think that he can be an elite cornerback. The Falcons is a tricky pick because I think the Falcons believe in Desmond Ridder. I think that Arthur Smith believes he can run an offense effectively. You saw the moves they made in the offseason, strengthening up that defense. They did release Casey Hayward, so it does make a corner at this pick intriguing. But JSN is also here. He's intriguing as well because now you'd have Drake London, JSN, and Kyle Pitts. But you know what, man? I think that when it comes to the Falcons, when it comes to Arthur Smith in Tennessee had a lot of success with Derrick Henry. And although Tyler Algier had a good rookie season, I think Bijan Robinson can be a game-breaking running back for Atlanta.
You're buying into the hype.
That is just not my. I get where you're coming from. He's obviously the generational talent here, and it's seeming as if I've had an issue with every single selection of yours, and I apologize for this. But Bijan, when Tyler Algier just did a job, he did more than fine. They were the number 3 rush offense this season. Running back is not a position of need if you're the Atlanta Falcons. You have to understand that there's other holes on this squad. I would have loved if you would have went JSN or your boy Zay Flowers, because they do need that guy opposite of Drake London and Kyle Pitts. So Kyle Pitts, they do need help on the offensive line. We see him more as a blocker, or we saw him more as a blocker this year. That shouldn't be the case, but that now allows you the flexibility that you have more weapons to have at Desmond Ritter's disclosure. So Bijan is not the ideal selection for me. I've been upset at these reports, but if you're going by what you think will happen, I understand, because a lot of rumors, a lot of hype behind Bijan going to the Falcons seems to be real.
When it comes to Atlanta's offense, the run offense in particular, it thrived when Marcus Mariota was a quarterback because of the threat he has to run. Desmond Ridder doesn't offer that same skill set, and I think that Bijan Robinson is a game-breaking player for your offense. Tyler Algier had a good rookie season. Maybe, he becomes even better than we think. But Bijan is somebody that can turn your offense around. And I understand the argument that running backs aren't valuable in today's NFL. I think that's true to a certain degree. But we just saw the New York Giants with an average quarterback make the playoffs because the running back carried the offense. I think with Atlanta, they do have weapons. Drake London could be a wide receiver number 1. Kyle Pitts can be the first receiving option on the team. I don't think receiver is a need. If I didn't go Bijan, I would have went with edge rusher, and I would have went with Nolan Smith here because they do need an edge. But it's between those two for me.
I think Atlanta's also probably wanting to trade down if they could, thinking they could get Bijan at 12, 13, whoever wants to trade down, maybe the Patriots at 14, Houston at 12 if they're scared someone might take JSN or something like that. But Bijan's interesting because, like you guys said, they're predicated on the run game. Arthur Smith, great, play caller, designer. But Bijan, I think the upgrade you get from Tyler Algier makes those 4 or 5 yard carries. You're going to get a lot more explosive plays. A lot of plays that are usually 5 yards for Algier could turn to 10 yards for Bijan Robinson. So it's high for a running back, but I think if anyone's worth it, it's him. Number 9, Chicago Bears. This has been mocked. If you follow mocks, it's pretty easy. We have one tackle off the board, right? We have Skoronski off.
Skoronski, he's a guard.
Johnson.
Okay.
Yeah, he could play tackle or guard.
Apparently, they're saying next level that Skoronski is probably going to be a guard because he doesn't have the size to play tackle. Yeah,
his arms are short, but I think if you're taking him at 7, he's probably going to play tackle. But it's good to have the versatility. At 9, I will be taking Paris Johnson. Tackle, Ohio State could reunite with his boy Justin Fields. Only real concern, I think, is he only has 1 year of experience at tackle, but last year only allowed 14 pressures on 449 pass blocking snaps. So only that 1 year of experience, but in that 1 year, he was really good. And obviously the Bears need offensive line help desperately, so I think this is a bit of a no-brainer.
No doubt. Paris Johnson is such a high-touted prospect that the Steelers are even contemplating trading up high in this draft to acquire him because they want to add additional help to that offensive line. But here I am with the 10th pick with the Philadelphia Eagles. Hopefully I do right for Rivs Eagles and, of course, Joel's Jalen Hurts. I don't know what you want me to say there, King. But regardless of that fact, I don't believe that they're saying that a need of theirs is wide receiver. Personally, I don't believe so. You have A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Quez Watkins proved to do more than enough job. Dallas Goedert is a fine tight end option. To me, if I'm the Eagles, I'm either going offensive line, understanding that your guys are getting older. There's positions that might be retiring soon. But for me, I think that with the fact that we saw their secondary kind of get torched in that Super Bowl game, it not be as great as we've seen all season long, where a lot of that was carried by their defensive line and how efficient it was, being a team that had every member of that defensive line have over 10 sacks. I think that I tweeted this earlier, that I think a corner will be selected here by the Philadelphia Eagles. And if neither Witherspoon or Gonzalez are available, I think that if I'm the Eagles, I'm trading back, because the Eagles have shown that they have a willingness to trade back, to acquire picks, to move back and go into next year's draft with a potentially better draft pick. So for me, I'm going to be going with Christian Gonzalez. I believe that he is the best corner in this draft. He put on a show at the combine. I firmly just believe this guy has all the tools to be a future cornerback one in this scenario. He doesn't have to be that right away. And when you're drafting him with the top 10 pick and with the physical attributes that he has, I think this guy will be special and fits perfectly with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Now, Dehls, because you were the one to trade back at this pick when you had the original pick for Arizona, you can have the luxury of making this pick, Dehls.
This is interesting. The Cardinals, like we talked about, they need everything, right? Christian Gonzalez just got taken off the board. I'm just following along on my own mock draft here. So if I'm the Cardinals here, it's probably best player available. DeAndre Hopkins is likely getting traded, so wide receiver is pretty thin. You have Devon Witherspoon on the board. You have obviously a bunch of defensive players, Nolan Smith. Not a ton I love, actually. Miles Murphy. You got some corners, some tackles.
They just traded Byron Murphy, or
they
well,
did.
just
I was going to say, what?
They don't have him anymore.
Make it easy. Take Witherspoon.
I think you probably go best player available. For me, it's between Devon Witherspoon and JSN.
Facts.
But I think in this situation, you go with Witherspoon. I think it's just a bit easier probably to find a receiver day two. You have Hollywood there still. They like Rondell Moore, even though he hasn't shown a ton. They like him. And I would rather take the chance on a cornerback one because receivers are just generally easier to find.
Now, because we swapped those picks, I have the 12th overall pick. And this is very easy for me. I understand the intrigue with JSN here, but the second overall pick was Jalen Carter. And right now, the quarterback to be rumored going second overall, he's the favorite, is Will Levis. Well, he's dropped all the way to 12. I think at the 12th overall pick with Richardson, Stroud, and Bryce Young off the board, the Texans go with the quarterback they wanted all along, Will Levis.
I think the draft board worked out absolutely amazing for you there. You get Carter, arguably the best defensive player in this draft. You get Will Levis, the quarterback. It's seeming the Texans want to be their franchise guy. You hit a home run there. So for me, pick 13, the pick that was acquired by the Packers in the blockbuster Aaron Rodgers deal that we're going to talk about a little bit later on this show, that's leaving them with positions now that I believe that they're saying quarterbacks in need. I don't believe so. I believe the faith is in Jordan Love. Although LaFleur coming out and saying that we need to temper expectations with Jordan Love was not something that I loved hearing. But regardless, I think that they do need wide receiver help, someone to pair next to Christian Watson, who's shown that he could be a deep threat burner. And with the loss of Allen Lazard, I think that the selection here has to be JSN, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. To me, this is the wide receiver one. I've been saying this all along. I believe that he's the best route runner. His lack of speed, it's really average, and I believe at his best, it'll probably get to slightly above average. But regardless, his pristine route running, I think it makes him the best wide receiver in this draft and the most safe, the lowest floor, the highest floor, I should say, is Jackson Smith and Jigba.
I did a little chess move there because I knew that if Drew had the Texans pick, he was probably going JSN. And I wanted the Packers to get JSN. So I did a little chess move, take Levis off the board.
It worked out. No
and
doubt.
have Jordan Love. I mean, listen.
I was never taking Will Levis at 13. No way. That would have been a smack in the face.
Wasn't happening?
No.
And now listen, JSN, Watson, Jordan Love, AJ Dillon, Aaron Jones. We're going to talk about that later, but my goodness.
Yeah, that'd be hot.
It's a nice team.
Looking at the Patriots. Are you picking for the Patriots, though? This is you. This is you.
This is me? Oh,
pick for New England.
Yeah, great. I mean, should just give them fucking God, I don't know, Ryan Hayes, tackle for Michigan. No. 14, New England on the clock. They're saying their needs are quarterback, tackle, and edge. I don't think quarterback's a need. Seems like Mac Jones, they're sticking with it. Defense, I trust Bill Belichick to figure it out. So it's probably offensive line or receiver/tight end. They desperately need a weapon here. I think I'm going to limit it to receiver or tight end. It's really your pick on what type of flavor receiver do you want. Do you want the big body wide receiver in Quentin Johnston? Do you want the smaller, more versatile, possibly faster receiver in Zay Flowers? I know we have Jordan Addison here too. And then lastly is probably tight end, a guy like Michael Mayer, who's probably the best all-around tight end. or kind of an in-between type guy, maybe like Dalton Kincaid, who may have shades of like an Aaron Hernandez type. I think in this situation, I'll be going receiver, and someone who's flown up all of the boards has been Zay Flowers out of Boston College.
Okay.
So that's where I'll go here at 14.
That's a good pick.
I like that selection.
I do think that when draft comes around, I do think that Zay Flowers will be the first wide receiver selected off the board. That's just my gut feeling about Zay Flowers. I think Zay Flowers is going to be a great receiver in the NFL. Now, pick 15 for the New York Jets.
Who are we going with, man?
Are you guys going to collaborate?
The needs are tackle and linebacker. I think that there's another need here that isn't being listed. I think that edge is also a need because of Carl Lawson's mediocre production last season. He's eventually going to be gone. He's going to have a huge cap hit. I do think that Nolan Smith wouldn't be a bad pick here, or Kawhi Kansey, defensive line. We have to pay Quentin Williams soon. Who knows how those negotiations will work out? Kawhi Kansey is a great prospect. I'm very high on Kawhi Kansey. Looking at the offensive tackles, Broderick Jones out of Georgia, Darnell Wright out of Tennessee. I look at Tennessee, it's more pass-heavy offense.
Yep.
He was tested more than Broderick Jones. I'm going to go with Darnell Wright out of Tennessee, protecting Hendon Hooker, now going to protect Aaron Rodgers in New York.
Okay. I like that. Tackle is definitely the move here for the Jets. I know you moved down from 13 to 15, but the way this board went, didn't have a ton of tackles go, only 2 in the top 14, so the Jets would be licking their chops there.
So that means that I have the 16th selection with the Washington Commanders. And this is a team that is an interesting one because I do believe that they do need a quarterback, but it's seeming as if they're not primed to select a quarterback this year. They're looking as if they're okay with Sam Howell being their quarterback this year. They do have Jacoby Brissett, correct? If I'm not mistaken, as their quarterback as well. So I don't think that they'll try to address it in this draft. Maybe in rounds 3, 4, who knows? Hendon Hooker would be intriguing here. There's reports that he might not drop outside top 15. So this Hendon Hooker definitely did come to mind, but I look at the Commanders and I think that their secondary is not that great. They definitely need cornerback help, and Joey Porter is that guy for me. I'm going to select Joey Porter here. I believe that he just has great. This cornerback class is great regardless. I think we're going to see maybe 5, potentially 6 corners drafted in the first round. That's how great of a talent they are. But regardless, I think Joey Porter is the next best available corner. Great speed, great physicality. I'm going with Joey at pick 16.
Steelers, pick 17, Dehls.
Do him right. Jared's going to be upset if you don't do him right.
This makes it a bit easier because the Steelers, I think their biggest needs, in this case, PFF got it right, tackle and DB. They always take linebackers, so they're going to have it as needed because they always take a linebacker early. But I'm looking at tackle right now, and I see 2 guys on the board, then a bit of a teardrop. I'm looking at Broderick Jones. I'm looking at Anton Harrison. And it's hard to say which way the Steelers would go here. Broderick Jones, I believe, started all 3 years at Georgia. Or 2 years, I guess. His freshman year, only had 20 snaps at right tackle. I think they would go with Broderick Jones in this case. I know his biggest trait is his mentality. He's just kind of like a bully. He's just more like will and power. And I think that's where the Steelers would go in this case. But I think if Porter's off the board and all the other corners that went, tackle would be the selection here.
18th overall pick. Will Anderson went off the board for the Lions. They have him now. They have James Houston, Aiden Hutchinson, and Will Anderson.
Is this where you go your boy Dalton?
I'm thinking about Kawhi Kansey here, defensive line.
Okay.
I think he would be a great pick for them. But then I look at the Lions offense. I do like their running back room. David Montgomery's a good back, although he's now a bit injury prone. I like Amon-Ra. Jameson Williams is suspended 6 games now. Outside of Amon-Ra, who is the Lions' next best weapon? That's a question mark. They lost DJ Chark.
DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, and because of that,
you have no respect.
I'm going with Dalton Kincaid. I think Dalton Kincaid has to be this pick.
That's what I thought.
Give them tight end help. Their tight end right now is Brock Wright. I think Kincaid is the pick there. But it sucked passing on Kawhi Kansey because I think Kawhi Kansey he has Pro Bowler written all over him. I think he's gonna be this type of player.
All right, and I'm at pick 19 right now with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is a team that needs a lot, respectfully. Now with Tom Brady out, and obviously they've had retirements. Their offensive line got very injured last season. They need help on the offensive side of the ball. I feel like here's where I believe Hendon Hooker is going to be selected. And with the rumors of Hendon Hooker being taken in the first round, top 15, I feel like the Bucs with their situation, whereas it's Baker Mayfield, it's Kyle Trask. It's not an ideal situation if you are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You take your shot with Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker has the physical traits to be a solid quarterback. You don't have to play him year one. Allow him to continue to recover if he needs that time from his lower extremity injury. And I believe that Hendon Hooker has the tools to be a solid quarterback. And if not, it's pick 19. You're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You understand you accomplished what you needed to accomplish a couple of years ago, winning a Super Bowl. And I believe that this team just needs a piece, especially now that Brady's out. You option that quarterback, and I believe it's Hendon Hooker.
Okay, Hendon Hooker. I have not seen him mocked too often to Tampa Bay. I got a 20th pick here with Seattle. At pick 5, they went Tyree Wilson. I wouldn't put it past them to double up on the defensive line. We saw last year they doubled up on the offensive line. Obviously not both in round 1 here, but it might sound crazy. I think receiver is a bit of a need for them as well. You have Lockett and you have DK, but outside of that, you really don't have anything offensively outside of Kenneth Walker, of course, our running back who was banged up this past season. You got Noah Fant, who they like, but I think Noah Fant is just who he is. He's a solid tight end, but nothing special. So to me, this pick really comes down to Jordan Addison, who could be wide receiver 3, an eventual Tyler Lockett replacement. Or it comes down to Kawhi Kansey, the defensive lineman out of Pitt. I know he's getting a lot of Aaron Donald comps for being 6 foot, 280, kind of undersized here. In this case, I think Pete Carroll will go with the defensive side, go with Kansey, and beef up that interior defensive line.
Joel, I cannot hear you for hell.
Yeah, I was gonna say I got really quiet.
I was muted. My bad. I said Kansey and Tyree Wilson. I like that a lot, Dehls. Now, Chargers are on the clock. How rich, man! I really wish Zay Flowers made it this far because it would have made this pick easy. I think that the obvious need for the Chargers is wide receiver. Quentin Johnson to me feels like Mike Williams prototype.
Agreed.
So I don't want to go that route. Jordan Addison is not a burner. Right now, I look at the receivers on the board.
I think you know which one.
There's nobody that is worth the first round pick. So if I'm the Chargers, I'm passing up on wide receiver in the first round. I'm gonna draft like a Marvin Mims in the second or third. So I'm not going receiver here. I look at the Chargers. Corner help they do need some corner help. Man, this is a tough pick. This is a very tough pick. Man, I'm stuck, man. I'm stuck. Outside of Joey Bosa, who's a Chargers edge rusher?
Khalil Mack, unless they cut him. They didn't, or they're gonna. I remember there were rumors of cutting him for cap.
I think he restructured.
Facts.
You know what, man? I don't know.
Dejounte Banks would not be a bad selection.
Yeah, Banks.
It's tough. It's tough.
Or honestly, with all your disdain for Mr. Austin Eckler, Jahmyr Gibbs isn't entering your mind right now.
Not this high. No.
You're taking Bijan in top 8. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs is still a fine talent regardless.
To me, I'm going with Nolan Smith, Dejounte Banks, or even Michael Mayer. I think Michael Mayer is also an option here.
Okay.
Damn it. You know what, man? I'm going to go with the traits guy. I'm going to go with the Nolan Smith here.
And that's a good selection because that was most definitely where I was going to go with Baltimore. They definitely would like an edge presence there. Given the fact that their defense was phenomenal last season, you add a little bit more pressure to it. Just for the fact that Nolan kept dropping down, it was just too intriguing for me to pass up on. But Baltimore needs a wide receiver. And I understand that they just brought in OBJ. The hope is that Rashad Bateman is going to be healthy. Mark Andrews is there as well, of course, one of the best tight ends in the game. But that doesn't mean anything to me, with all due respect. And people may think that I should take a corner here, given the fact that Humphrey and Peters, they're getting a little bit older. Dejounte Banks is right there. That's definitely one of the names that's intriguing me. Jordan Addison and Quinn Johnston, I feel like one of these two guys have to come off the board. And for me, I'm going my wide receiver 2. I'm going with Jordan Addison. I just think that he's a more refined, the second best refined route runner in this class. He had an unbelievable sophomore season, was pretty disappointing this year, but he had an ankle injury that kind of nagged him, that forced him to miss a couple of games as well. But I believe in the talent of Jordan Addison. That would be my selection at pick 22.
Minnesota Vikings, Dehls.
Yeah, Drew, you made my life a lot easier, because I was also between Addison and Quentin Johnston here for the Vikings. Defensively, Hyatt? The Vikings have a ton of holes. Hyatt, yeah, but I think the Vikings defensively have a ton of holes. But receiver, now that Thielen's gone, it was a need with Adam Thielen. He is cooked, if we're being quite honest with each other. Now Adam Thielen is gone. KJ Osborne is your wide receiver too. So I think Quentin Johnson pairs pretty perfectly with Justin Jefferson. You have your prototypical X receiver. Jefferson can be moved all over the field, and now you have a legitimate number 2 weapon to replace Adam Thielen.
Jacksonville Jaguars, pick 24. I like that pick.
I should have been selfish. I should have been selfish and thought about my Giants at 25. Fuck.
Now, I'm looking at the Jaguars. I don't think safety's a need, although I do love Brian Branch. I think they have that position covered. Myles Murphy could be an option here. I do like Josh Allen a lot, but they do need an edge opposite of Josh Allen. And they need corner. I like Tyson Campbell. He's a CB1. But Shaq Griffin was underwhelming. He has not lived up to his contract. I'm going to pick between Anton Harrison or Dejounte Banks here, because they also lost Jawan Taylor to the Kansas City Chiefs. And based on their need, based on what I think is more important, I think it's more important to protect Trevor Lawrence than it is to get a secondary player. So I'm going to go with Anton Harrison here.
And this is great, because I believe that the Giants need secondary help terribly. Although I would have loved if one of the higher end wide receivers had dropped, one of the top 4 had dropped to the Giants. I'm sure the Giants would love that too. That's just unfortunately the way that the board broke. So Dejounte Banks is going to be my selection here out of Maryland. The Giants desperately need secondary help. It was a huge reason why their season came to an end. Well, one of the main reasons. Let's just say there's all around they could have done a lot of things better, but that defense needs help. They overachieved last year, and with Dejounte Banks, it gets a jump start to that secondary that they desperately need.
Okay, I like that. So we have Harrison going there. Okay, sorry, just trying to update my board here. The Cowboys at pick 26, running backs are number 1 need, according to PFF, defensive line, linebacker, and corner. I'm looking at the corner class right now. I think there's a bit. You have Dejounte Banks there. But you just trade for Gilmore, so I don't know why that's neat. Now I'm thinking about it. Linebacker, I think it's a bit too early. I don't know if anyone's worth a first-round pick at linebacker in this draft. Defensive line, at least in the interior right now, I don't know if there's a ton of options you're selecting at this. Maybe Brian Brzee from Clemson. I'm looking at tight ends, and I'm considering running back as well.
I was going to say Jameer has got to be on your radar.
Option. He's interesting because the Pollard injury, franchise tag, you're probably not paying him long term. And obviously Zeke Elliott, he's still a free agent. He didn't sign anywhere. I didn't miss that, right? But I think in this case, the Cowboys are going to go with probably the best overall tight end and select Michael Mayer. Get a guy who could block. I don't think Jake Ferguson, who showed some flashes, should be your starting tight end. So get Michael Mayer. You know he's going to be a top 10, top 8 tight end. Maybe he doesn't ever reach that top 5, top 3 ceiling. But if he's able to be a plus blocker and he give you that receiving work, I think he's worth it here at 26.
I think that's a great pick. After losing Dalton Schultz, they need a tight end. Buffalo Bills, defensive line, linebacker, and cornerback. Trey White is getting older. Von Miller, although he fills their edge need, last year he did get injured due to he got injured and he missed the rest of the season, and that really hampered the Bills' defensive line. So I think that defensive end should be considered here. They also need a receiver, but there's no receiver in the first round I think that's worth taking.
Respect Jalen.
At this pick, you know what? I'm going to give some defensive line help to the Buffalo Bills. I'm going to go with, I'm going to go with Miles Murphy here. I'm going with Miles Murphy.
Okay. So, Drew, you're on the clock with Cincy.
All right. So that means that the Cincinnati Bengals, they have needs. One is tight end. Obviously, I would have liked to have Mayer at that selection, Kincaid, but both those guys are gone. To me, my selection was made easy, though. They do need some secondary help, especially with Jesse Bates now being on the move.
You still have Kincaid on the board.
No, he's gone.
No, Dalton Kincaid got selected. Facts.
Oh, I missed that.
Brian Branch will be a good pick here.
Brian Branch, exactly. Brian Branch will be my selection. I believe he's the best safety available in this draft for the Bengals to get him at pick 28 when that is arguably their biggest need. I feel like that's a home run selection for them.
Okay. So we have the Saints on the clock now. Saints have a lot of needs. I think their interior of their offensive line could use some help. You drafted Trevor Penning last year. He got hurt and really barely played. His most snaps was week 18, so he really didn't get much work at all. You look at the receivers, it's a pretty weak room. Olave was great, but what do you get from Michael Thomas? And there's really nothing behind that. There's a few different ways you can go here. If I'm looking best player available, it's definitely edge. Miles Murphy, Lucas Van Ness. Those are the two names
Van
that
Ness has
stick
dropped.
Has stick out the most. Yeah, and I'm looking at Van Ness, and this is probably where the slide ends. He's one of the best in terms of combination of like speed and power. He wasn't a full-time starter at Iowa, which was kind of weird because he's really good. But I think he'll be able to come in and rush the passer really well. I know they got Cameron Jordan, but you can never have too many edge rushers.
Not to mention Marcus Davenport signed with the Minnesota Vikings. So that's a clear need for them. Philadelphia Eagles, pick 30. I'm going to make it easy. Isaac Samalu left in free agency to Pittsburgh. I'm going with Osiris Torrance out of Florida. I'm going to make it easy.
So that means you're giving me pick 31, the Kansas City Chiefs. The need for them is wide receiver. I don't care what anyone tells you. They need a wide receiver. I understand Mahomes makes any weapon of his great. And to me, the perfect option for him is Jalen Hyatt. You give Mahomes Jalen Hyatt. Jalen Hyatt is an obvious burner. People's biggest issue with Hyatt is that they're concerned with his route tree. Well, you pair him with Patrick Mahomes and you tell him to go deep. He'll get there, and Mahomes will put the ball right in stride for him. I think that'd be a great combination, especially at the last pick of the first round. Hyatt would be a solid selection.
So looking at our draft, that is the picks right there. I'm trying to zoom out. Yeah, I'm trying to zoom out there.
I guess you only get graded if you have like one pick.
Yeah. So I downloaded the image. I'll post it on Twitter later on today. But that's our mock draft. So number 1, Bryce Young to Carolina. Number 2, Jalen Carter to Houston. Number 3, C.J. Stroud to Tennessee. They trade up and get their quarterback. Number 4, Richardson to the Colts. Number 5, Tyree Wilson. Will Anderson falls to 6 to the Lions. Peter Skoronski to the Raiders at 7. Bijan Robinson at 8 to the Falcons. Paris Johnson to the Chicago Bears. Eagles select Christian Gonzalez. Cardinals select Devon Witherspoon. The Texans select Will Levis. Packers go with JSN. Patriots go Zay Flowers. Jets go Darnell Wright. Washington goes Joey Porter Jr. Steelers go Broderick Jones. Lions go Dalton Kincaid. 19, the Bucks go with Hendon Hooker. 20, Seahawks Kalijah Kancey filling up their defensive line. 21, Chargers Nolan Smith. 22, Jordan Addison. 23 with the Vikings, Quentin Johnson. 24, Jaguars go Anton Harrison. 25, Giants go Deontay Banks. 26, Cowboys go Michael Mayer. 27, Bills go Miles Murphy. 28, the Bengals get a steal in Brian Branch. 29, Saints go with Lucas Van Ness. 30, Eagles go with Osiris Torrance. And 31, Chiefs go with Jalen Hyatt. And that is our 2023 NFL mock draft for the first round of the draft.
The only thing that bites here is that we couldn't get my New York Football Giants a wide receiver, man. And in round 2,
I think isn't there a report that they're comfortable with the wide receivers?
Yeah, I don't know why that would even be a report. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
That's because they know Paris Campbell's nice.
Oh my God. Get Riv up on here. Thank you. Where's
Mr. Brown? What'd you think of the mock? Who we get the Eagles taking?
We got them Gonzalez.
Corner. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was amazing. Yeah.
Got you, baby.
You didn't hear that. The corner and the guard?
I'll be honest, I didn't hear that shit at all.
Okay. We took you a corner at 10 and a guard at 30.
Offensive line?
Guard at 30.
We could have picked the guard in the 6th round and he'd have been Hall of Famer, bro. Come on.
You're not wrong. Not wrong.
What are we doing here? Like,
yeah. Got a point.
Now, John,
what do you think of Pittsburgh?
Broderick Jones, is he a right tackle?
He played left, I believe. Let me check.
If he has tools, that's good. But whatever Omar Khan does on Thursday, it's going to be the start of a Steelers Super Bowl run. So that's all I know.
Come on,
left
John.
Tackle, yeah. He played
I
a
do
little
think
bit
they
of
might
right
trade
tackle.
up, though, in all seriousness.
Played a little bit of right tackle his freshman year, but left tackle his sophomore, junior year.
I think your Steelers need a corner more than anything.
Oh, big time.
Yeah, I understand going O-line, but I feel like they need a corner. Yeah, I mean, that's not cap.
So now I have this graphic here. Before we go on to the next topic, we got to talk about Mojo just a bit. Because on Mojo currently, Will Levis in the last month is up 22%.
Damn.
Insane.
And if you guys don't know how Mojo works, Mojo is a sports stock market, and players go up based off of their performance, but also news. And because Will Levis has been projected to be the 2nd overall pick, that's what's led to this gigantic rise. So I'm asking you guys, Will Levis, are you buying this gigantic rise? He was the 4th, 5th rated quarterback on most people's boards. Now he's the favorite to go 2nd overall to the Houston Texans. Do you think that it was warranted?
For me, this is not the number 2 overall selection. The number 2 overall selection should be CJ Stroud. And if it's not going to be CJ Stroud, it needs to be Will Anderson or Jalen Carter. So for it to be Will Levis and for him to recently get this insane amount of hype behind his name, that's tough, especially when we've seen a couple of his workouts and his throwing, which he's supposed to have this massive arm, which credit to him, he does, but he's just not accurate. He lacks the finesse. So he's a guy who needs to work on the little things. He's a guy that needs refinement. That's the word that I'm looking at. He most likely will be sitting a year. So it'll be very interesting to see how he plays in year 2. I guess you do look at the Houston Texans. If they are the team that selects them, they would be in a position where Will Levis could start immediately, depending on how Davis Mills and Will Levis, the quarterback competition, works out in the preseason. But Will Levis is not a guy for me that should start day 1. He's a guy that needs time. And that's where we could start to see the benefits of Will Levis.
If you want to go with the toolsy quarterback, go with Anthony Richardson. I don't know why you would select Will Levis, who you have the same questions. Are they going to be able to come to the NFL and be accurate? That's really the biggest question between both of these guys. And with Anthony Richardson, at least you know he could come in and immediately elevate your rushing game and be one of the best rushing quarterbacks in the NFL. So if you want to take a guy who has the high upside, go with Anthony Richardson. Don't take Will Levis.
I agree 100%. And Riv, go.
Dehls, are you downstairs?
No.
I'm going to kill you. Bro,
can you not tell when I'm downstairs?
Tatum's having a stinker, and I bet on him. He sucks, bro. I just can't do this shit anymore.
What did I tell you to take the under? I told him Tatum's the under guy. All you do is take unders on Tatum. You never take the over on Tatum.
I can't catch a break with this guy. What is he doing?
What?
Oh, it's the first quarter. Relax.
Bro, once he starts bad, he usually finishes off bad. He's 1 for 6. He took 6 shots. He's 1 for 6.
Now listen.
Welcome to the Jason Tatum experience.
Jalen Brown.
He'll catch fire.
Jalen Brown clears.
I hope so. I need him to get 32 points.
When it comes to Will Levis, man, he's up 22% in the last month on Mojo. And I'm not sure what led to this rise. At the combine, he didn't look impressive. He took the S2 cognition test. He did well on it. Now he's shooting up the draft board. I agree with Dehls. If you're going to go with a toolsy quarterback, you go with Anthony Richardson. I think Will Levis at pick number 2 would be a gigantic mistake. If it's pick 12, I understand it. But at pick number 2, I think it's too big. It's too much of a reach for Will Levis, especially with other quarterbacks on the board.
You think we'll have a smoother transition, though, to the NFL, given how shit that Kentucky team was, the offensive line, who's playing through injuries? I feel like for younger quarterbacks that were thrown to the mosh pit early on, like Josh Allen at Wyoming, or even Justin Herbert at Oregon, we tend to underrate them because they didn't have a quality supporting cast. And so a player like CJ Stroud, who had an absolute gauntlet of an offensive line, 5 first-round receivers, will have like a kind of harder transition to the big leagues.
Will Levis' sack rate in college was abysmal. I think that he doesn't have a natural feel for the pocket. And I think guys like Josh Allen were different.
Was it that and or also having a terrible offensive line?
I think it's a combination of both, but I think it's more so has to do with his pocket presence because Florida didn't have a great offensive line and he didn't take sacks. I do think that Will Levis is not a great decision maker. He's an older prospect, and there are some real question marks about his game. So for me, I think that the second overall pick is a bit too rich for him. First football topic that's not draft related on the show. Aaron Rodgers has finally been traded to the New York Jets. And instead of just talking about this trade, let's just do something different. Who won this trade? And don't give me a scapegoat answer. They both won. They both won. No, Jets, Packers. Who won the trade? Who lost the trade? Dehls, I'm gonna start with your biased opinion on the matter.
See, this is why I didn't want to have to start with Joel. This is why I didn't want to start with Joel because let's talk to someone who's actually non-biased in the situation. With love and admiration to you guys. You guys did a great job. You guys got Aaron Rodgers. You got one of the best quarterbacks all time. That's a win. But I look at the Packers and I think that they won more than you guys for the sole fact that they were already beyond the thought that Aaron Rodgers was going to be their quarterback. And they already had moved on to Jordan Love being their quarterback one. So in their minds, they already were trying they were already existing in a world where Aaron Rodgers was no longer their quarterback. That's already the reality that they had accepted. So now with that reality, now they traded an imaginary player for a first round, potentially another first round pick, which most likely will get transferred to another first round, a second round pick this year. To me, that's why I look at the Packers and think this is why they won. And especially with the idea that there's the fear. I'm very hopeful, as my guys are Jets fans, as my brothers. I don't want Aaron Rodgers to retire after this year, but God forbid, where he already had the idea in his head that he was going to retire. That's where fear starts to sit in if I'm a Jets fan. But the Packers already came to the realization, hey, Jordan Love's our quarterback. They were able to move a guy that wasn't going to play for them no more for 2 first-round picks, potentially two first-round picks. I believe it will be a first-round pick regardless, and a second-round pick. And you get a lot of that money off your cap. I think that if I'm the Packers, I'm looking at this as a W for sure.
You know, a lot of people tell me I'm one of the most unbiased analysts in the world. And the reason for that is because when it comes to subjects, I'm not biased. I call it how it is. I call it how I see it. When the Broncos traded for Russell Wilson, it was all sunshines and rainbows. I said, hey, wait a minute. Let's chill out. Let's chill out, right?
Yeah,
I was unbiased.
Defense, not Russ.
I was unbiased. I'm looking at this trade, and basically what the Packers got is a first-round pick and a second-round pick from this trade. Now, that first-round pick is a conditional second-round pick under the condition Rodgers plays 65% of snaps. It now becomes a first-round pick. The risk for the Jets is there. You know, there's a possibility Aaron Rodgers does not play in 2024. There's a possibility he is a one-year rental. The reward with Aaron Rodgers is that he leads the Jets to their first playoff appearance since 2010. We currently have the longest drought in sports history in appearing in the playoffs. So even a playoff appearance, I know everybody wants to jump to the conclusion of, well, Rodgers won't win you a Super Bowl. Oh, he's going to get eliminated in the playoffs. Well, we haven't even been there. I want to get there. So I'm happy with it ending like that. And also the possibility of us making a Super Bowl because the Jets roster with Aaron Rodgers with an upgrade at the 15th overall pick we become one of the best rosters in the NFL. And I know people will speak on Aaron Rodgers' down season. The reality is the weapons weren't there. I'm not going to exonerate Rodgers from blame because he wasn't himself this year either. He wasn't. He didn't.
Will was coming at your neck on Twitter.
Well, Will's a Vikings
trying.
fan.
He was trying.
Will is a Vikings fan.
Yeah, these 300-yard games is gross.
So are you.
I'm a Vikings enthusiast, not a Vikings fan.
Oh, my God.
Enthusiast is nuts.
When it comes to Aaron Rodgers, last year was not his best year. And I think it has more to do than just the weapons. I think he wasn't totally locked in with his receivers. Chemistry issues were apparent all over the field. The difference in my optimism for the Jets is rooted in Aaron Rodgers feeling motivated. Aaron Rodgers feeling unwanted by the Green Bay Packers because he thought he was going to be back as their quarterback. And then the Packers basically said, no, we're moving on. I think Aaron Rodgers being motivated, being committed to the Jets, the entire locker room changing their profile pictures to his college image. I think the locker room is going to be nothing but good vibes. And I think Aaron Rodgers is not only going to be a great mentor for our young players, but for our young quarterback in Zach Wilson, who could take over in 2025. Aaron Rodgers is going to be huge for the Jets, and we're going to make the playoffs. There's no doubt about it. I think the Jets win this trade in the short term 100%. The Packers, though, I want to shout them out because I think Brian Gutekunst getting a first round and a second round pick.
I said, I don't want to hear the win-win bullshit. I want one answer or the other. And then here we go with the win-win bullshit.
I'm the most unbiased analyst in the world, Drew. What can I say? With the Packers, you guys know how high I am on Jordan Love. I think he's the future. I think Jordan Love's going to be a big-time great quarterback. I think there's a chance he's a top 5 quarterback in his conference this season. I think people are overlooking the Packers at winning this division. They can win the NFC North. Their defense is elite. We just did a mock draft. What if they get JSN, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, JSN? The offensive line is okay. AJ Dillon, Aaron Jones, Jordan Love. It's not out of the realm of possibility. He can play at the level that Aaron Rodgers played at in 2022. 91 passer rating for Jordan Love is doable in year 1. He can be even better. If they get that version with better chemistry with this locker room, the Packers can make the playoffs. And you're laughing, you're smiling. I've let you off the hook with Jordan Love a lot of times.
Bro, what? I have acknowledged I wasn't a fan of his. I still am not overly a fan.
We know that you're Mr. Flip aside when it comes to Jordan Love. We know it used to be crapping on him. Now you're praising him whenever you got the chance because you have some money invested.
That's not true.
In Mojo.
That's not true. Yo, I tell you what, we cashed out yesterday. I was geeked up. Listen, I'm not fully in on the Jordan Love train. I need to see it. All right, I'm not a believer. I'm not a hater.
I'm the driver. I'm the driver of the Jordan Love train. I have old clips of both of you motherfuckers calling Jordan Love trash. So listen, I don't want to hear
like
people
trash.
when
what do you want me to say?
Terrible against the Chiefs. He was dog shit.
You say unbiased opinion, right? This was our unbiased opinion. He did not look.
You can't call somebody trash when you barely saw him play. You can't. You assumed it.
Yeah.
You assumed it.
He was terrible against
Aaron Rodgers.
You can't call him nice either, right?
Aaron Rodgers, the Packers front office. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers front office, they also saw a sizable leap from Jordan Love this past season. It was apparent in that Eagles game. It was a small sample size, but he looked spectacular. He looked better than Aaron Rodgers did that entire game in 2 drives. And I look at Aaron Rodgers. Last year, he ranked 17th in passer rating, 26th in QBR. Jordan Love in his first full year as a starter, to ask him to be better than the 17th ranked passer rating quarterback and better than the 26th ranked QBR quarterback is not this monumental task. Jordan Love can be better. And I'm trying to just say that the Packers they can rebuild fast. They have the assets. And I know I gave a perspective on the Jets and how they could win the trade, but the Packers won this trade. And the Packers won because Jordan Love, to me, is that guy. And I think they're going to rebuild this roster that much better. And their future has a much better outlook than the Packers than the Jets it does. Because the Jets, although I love the Jets, I love the Aaron Rodgers move. after he goes, let's say he does retire after this season. In 2024, we don't have a quarterback, and we don't have high draft capital to draft one.
Zach Wilson.
Joel. Zach.
What happened to Zach Wilson? You just told me that he's the quarterback of the future, 2025.
Shut up.
And that Aaron Rodgers was going to be a great mentor to Zach Wilson. I thought that it was running the stars.
Yeah.
Bro, he said that he was the next Jordan Love.
All my eggs are not in that basket anymore. All right?
Oh, my God.
Took some of the eggs out.
So that
really are
listen,
the pancake.
The eggs in the basket right now are broken. Yolk is in them. And I'm just hoping something's restored.
It's a messy basket.
My God.
It's a gross basket.
But Jordan Love will be that guy. And I know NFC North team fans don't want to hear it. Bears fans thinking they're up next. Lions fans thinking they're up next. Vikings fans thinking they're in the same place that they are. The Packers.
You know what?
Sleep on the Packers.
One part about the Packers return that I think is pretty notable is them moving up 2 spots to leap over New England because ironically, after never drafting a quarterback Aaron Rodgers in the first round, they would take one the first year after they trade him, kind of like when the Seahawks finally draft offensive lineman once they trade Russ. And if you have your pick of any wide receiver, maybe a Jackson Smith and Jigma to pair up with Christian Watson, that could be pretty special. But I don't think the Packers are winners here. And the real reason why is, though you get a good return, probably a first and a top 45 pick to go along with that, if the Packers traded Aaron Rodgers a year ago, what do you guys think they would have got?
Before the season, coming up back-to-back MVPs, you're
the same package for
guaranteed first.
The same package for Russ.
Multiple first.
So you wait through the season to win 7-8 games with Aaron Rodgers, not make the playoffs at all, which was a pretty bad goodbye. And then you traded him for many less first-round picks than what you would have gotten a year ago. I felt like that was a pretty bad job by Brian Gutekunst. And then you talk about what they got for Devontae Adams. They used that pick on Quay Walker. So, like, if you could have gotten 3 or 4 first-round picks for Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, and you instead parlayed that into Quay Walker, a linebacker, and maybe 1 first down the line, I think that's a massive, massive L. Now, for the Jets, part of the good news here is that you keep a top 15 pick so you can get that right tackle. I don't know if Max Mitchell is that, but the good part about it is if Mekhi Becton stays healthy next year with Laken Tomlinson and Elijah Vera Tucker coming back, that Jets offensive line can be really good, just depending on do you hit on that 15th overall pick, and also does Becton stay healthy. Dehls, I think you're showing me some picks that he's slimmed down a little bit. Maybe he
has. He looks
Mekhi Becton. This is the year.
It's got to be it.
And also, I think it's unfair to say that the Packers could have gotten more for Aaron Rodgers last year. I mean, the Packers were in a position where it was, I'm retiring or I'm playing for the Jets. I think getting a first and a second round pick for him is a good return given those.
That's a W. That is a huge
That's
W.
not bad. Sure. It's not bad.
Yeah.
I think Joel. Sorry, John. Did you have more to say? I don't want to cut you off.
Oh.
Gotcha. Joel, you just went on like an 8-minute spiel and gave 7 minutes of Packers analysis and 1 minute of Jet analysis. It's impossible to say who won this trade because I really do think it was a win for both sides. It's a fair deal. It always felt like this is what it was going to be. It was going to be a second-round pick this year and a conditional first next year. I thought the condition was going to be based on the Jets' performance, as Drew has his Jets football. I thought it was going to be based on the Jets' success. If they get to the playoffs, if they win a playoff game, that will be the escalator to make it a first-round pick. Instead, it's the 65% of Aaron Rodgers playing the offensive snaps for the Jets, and I think that's fair. If he's playing 65% of the snaps, that means he's missing maybe a couple of games. The Jets should be in playoff contention. Last year, when I know very small sample and Joel hates Mike White, but when we saw a backup level quarterback in, we saw what the Jets team could do. Zach Wilson was by far the worst quarterback in the NFL we had seen. Doesn't matter if it's a starter, backup, or third string level guy. He was the worst quarterback in the NFL last year. Now you get Aaron Rodgers, who is he the top 3 guy he used to be? Probably not, but he's not outside the top 10, and he is still fantastic. And with these weapons, with Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall coming back, you still have Corey Davis. You got your boy Alan Lazard he has familiarity with, and he has Nathaniel Hackett, who he had his most success with, now the offensive coordinator. So I think for the Jets, it was the only move, and it was the move they had to get done. You have Rodgers now, and of course the playoffs is what you want to get to as the first stop. But you don't trade these picks for a 39-year-old quarterback and don't think Super Bowl. I think that inside the Jets locker room, that's what Robert Saleh is going to be preaching. That's going to be the vibe around the locker room. It's a bunch of young guys, a bunch of guys who still want to go out and prove that they deserve to be in this league. You have a few vets there. Quinnen, I think, is a vet at this point. CJ Mosley, but a lot of young guys. And to John's point, this offensive line is able to stay healthy, specifically Mekhi Becton, because ABT, for the most part, his rookie year, he was healthy, had a weird injury against Denver this season. If Mekhi is able to stay healthy, you draft a tackle at 15, you have a wall for Aaron Rodgers, and you have all of the weapons he could possibly want. I mean, Garrett Wilson could be a top 10 receiver this year. He just put up 1,100 yards with nothing at quarterback. You have good pieces around him. So I think this is an absolute win for the Jets. People are saying it's an overpay. This always felt like what it was going to be to me. I never thought they were going to trade a 3rd and 5th round pick, and that was going to be the Aaron Rodgers package. It always felt like it was going to be a 2nd this year and a future 1st. So I think this is what had to get done.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Riv. What's up, man? How are you?
You know, Drew, when I say you're the NFL me, I truly mean that. You having Denver gear on and a Jets football in your hand is just fucking crazy to me.
Bro, it was a gift. Actually, it wasn't a gift. I won it at a carnival, bro.
Yeah. Don't care anymore. Win-win for both sides. I look at it like the Jets' goal was to get a new quarterback. The Jets' goal was to get a better quarterback. The Jets' goal was to get a great quarterback in this market. They got that. Green Bay's goal was just to get Aaron Rodgers off the team, maybe save some money, get some draft capital. That's the end goal. I look at both teams, and they're in a pretty peculiar space. I feel like you guys touched on a lot of the Packers' goals and what they're going to do in their roster, and the Jets' goals, what they're going to do with the roster. But I look at the divisions, and it's such a peculiar spot that they're going into. I mean, to talk about the Jets, they get Aaron Rodgers. Miami has improved. New England's kind of in the mud. Buffalo's still hanging around. That's a tough division to be in. And now you saw Miami bring in Jalen Ramsey. Now you bring in Aaron Rodgers. The goal should be Super Bowl or bust. But like Joel said, for a team that hasn't made the playoffs in 10, 11 years, that's just tough to go from not making the playoffs to automatically jumping to a Super Bowl. And you don't even know if Aaron's going to be there for the next season. But you saw what this team can do defensively in any game. Offensively, they got weapons out there. They just need a quarterback. And Aaron Rodgers, like you mentioned, is still a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, probably top 8, top 7. He's still an elite quarterback, and that's all you need from him to be elite, to be that guy to make clutch plays. As far as the pack is concerned, it had to happen. Like, you had to let Jordan Love get the team. You had to let Jordan Love shine. You picked him up. It was about time to eventually let him play. There is a world. I can see a world where Jordan Love could be the best quarterback in that division. But there's a world where he can be the worst quarterback in that division. Like that division, Kirk Cousins,
not wrong.
Jared Goff, Justin Fields. These are no slouches. We can see a Fields jump. Kirk Cousins and Goff, we know what they're going to do. They're pretty solid. They're good quarterbacks. But there's a world where he can be both. And I think it really comes down to Christian Watson's second-year ascension, Romeo Doubs, whoever they draft with their top pick. And then that defense, if that defense can remain and be elite, I think Green Bay can definitely hover around and stay around that playoff window. But the divisions is definitely something I look at, and I'm just like, it's a different spot to be in. I mean, for the Jets, there's a lot more pressure because you picked up Aaron Rodgers. You have a winning team now. You want to get to the Super Bowl. You want to get to the playoffs. For Green Bay, though, it's just more on to see what do you have in Jordan Love. I think their overall product of making the playoffs is cool, but I think the main goal is what do we have in this quarterback right here that we just pretty much gave the keys to run the offense.
I'm like That's So Raven. I'm like Raven for That's So Raven. I have certain visions that I see, and they come true. After Nathaniel Hackett was hired by the New York Jets, I sat at the table and I said, listen, Aaron Rodgers is coming to the Jets. A couple months before the move even happened, Dehls was there trying to be like, take it easy. We don't want to be like Drew when the Broncos didn't get Aaron Rodgers.
Whoa.
But ultimately happened. And I'll give you another prediction, fellas. And this does not have to do with anything with Jordan Love related, because I already told you he's going to be great. So comparing him to those quarterbacks, disrespectful, Riv. Outside of Kirk Cousins, he deserves my respect.
Respect Justin Fields.
Respect Jared Goff.
Aaron Rodgers. If the Jets have a successful season in 2023, there is a 0% chance he retires in 2024. The only way Aaron Rodgers retires in 2024 is if this season is a disaster.
Dumpster fire.
If the Jets make the playoffs, they make it to the second round or win a playoff game, and it's looking like there is something to build on, Aaron Rodgers will not just leave this team high and dry. he will be committed for another season and he'll give it one more go. That's my prediction. So, and I think this season won't be a disaster. I think we saw the charts with Nathaniel Hackett in Denver. As a play caller, he was good. As a clock manager, game management, he was bad. But as a play caller, which is what he'll be in New York, he'll be great with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers won 2 MVPs with Nathaniel Hackett. We have offensive weapons. We have an elite defense. There is no reason for us not to make the playoffs and not even go as far as to say to be a favorite to win this division.
Not at all. And we talk about this Jets team. Rip talk about the division. The Jets already beat the Bills last season. We know we could beat Miami. Miami's obviously better, but that's a team that I think at the minimum we're on the same level as. The only 2 teams you look at are the Chiefs and the Bengals that's saying they're better than the Jets right now, and that's fair. It's also important to note that Connor Hughes, who is probably the most plugged-in beat reporter for the Jets, says there is a strong chance that Aaron Rodgers is going to play beyond 2023. Part of the reason he believes that is the way that Rodgers has restructured his contract. Now, the details hasn't come out yet. When you trade for a player, you can't restructure this year's cap hit. It's $15 million, but they can restructure future years down the road. So I'm thinking that next season in 2024, there has to be some sort of bonus if he's on the roster week 1, or some sort of guarantee. You know, it has to be worked into the contract that Connor Hughes has all this much confidence that he'll be here for 2+ seasons, because when it comes to the Jets, there's really not many other people I trust more than him.
I think, I don't know, maybe I could be wrong, but I feel like you guys are brushing away a lot of teams in the AFC, like the Dolphins, like the Bills, like Baltimore, even the Chargers.
Are any of them clearly better than the Jets outside of the Chiefs and Bengals? Top 5 defense last year, you got Rodgers now.
They all have a lot more proven coaching. And I'm actually a Robert Saleh guy, but you look at that AFC East, you got Mike McDaniel, Bill Belichick, and Sean McDermott. And Robert Saleh's on the hot seat right now.
Mike McDaniel's a more proven coach than Robert Saleh.
He also has to prove himself.
In year 1, he did go to the playoffs. And he
I'd probably argue Baltimore. Game. I think Baltimore.
I'd argue between McDaniel and Saleh and what they do on their both respective sides of the ball. It is equal level of production.
Year 1, Saleh had the 32nd ranked defense.
We had zero talent.
Mike McDaniel had one of the best offenses in the game, and until Tua was
Tyreek Hill and
Joel, I think we are
and Tua Tagovailoa. So you're making good points.
Vic Fangio is now at the Dolphins as well.
Okay, but question for you guys: the Jets before Saleh came, what were they?
No, you were dog shit.
Not good.
It was terrible.
Not good.
There was
the Dolphins before McDaniel were a 9-win team each season, or a 500 team each season.
But it really, agenda based. Now that you give credit to their 9 wins, although last year all you did was shit on their 9 wins because they had a cupcake.
No, I'm saying that it's quite obvious that Mike McDaniel walked into a better situation than Robert Saleh did with the Jets. That led to his success year 1. When you gave Robert Saleh talent, the defense was an elite unit, and we have talent, and I think that we'll be fine. Obviously the AFC is a dogfight, but we're going to be prepared to fight it every single week. We're not scared of nobody. We're not scared of nobody.
Y'all got to beat New England, man.
And wait, hold up.
We do.
Are we facing the Eagles this year in the regular season?
We are.
Why do you want that?
Because we never beat you guys ever, and we're going to beat you guys this year.
You literally
we're beating you guys this year. We're beating you guys this year.
You actually don't want to do that.
Why wouldn't I?
The Jets have a chance in every game now. That's what you could say.
We will beat the shit out of y'all. I won't even lie to you.
Before we move on,
did you see what we did to the Niners defense?
Let's rank the AC East, Joel.
Listen, Jets number 1 for me.
Obviously, shocker.
How about let's do this? Let's rank top 5 quarterbacks in the AFC after the Aaron Rodgers trade.
Well, Mahomes is clearly 1.
Mahomes is 1.
I agree. Mahomes is
obviously Joe Burrow. 1. I think Joe Burrow's 2.
Burrow's 2.
Yeah, the comments are going to have a field day with me saying Justin Herbert's 2, but I'm still taking Herbie number 2.
That's wrong to me, but I would go to Alex.
No, listen, I get it. I would still go. It's Burrow or Allen. It's close.
Burrow's
great.
It's so funny.
Regressed.
It's so funny to me how these things work when it comes to like Josh Allen and Justin Herbert. Josh Allen had a down season, turnover prone, playoffs wasn't amazing. He gets dropped. Justin Herbert blows 27-point playoff lead, does nothing offensively. Oh, we're just gonna breeze by that.
Still 2.
Listen, my top five.
Kept him. I'm staying consistent. I've kept Herbert 2 for the past 2 seasons. I understand that is not the popular opinion. I just think that I look
at the last 2 seasons with all due respect.
Okay. If you believe that, I feel like statistically, there's been no one better to start a career than Justin Herbert. You saw that the injuries dismantled that offense last year. They still won games. Yes, he blew a terrible lead to Jacksonville that shouldn't have happened. I still believe in the talent. I believe in all the tools that Justin Herbert has. So he would be number 2 for me. I would put Josh Allen 3. I would put Joe Burrow 4.
Hold on, Joel. Before
what?
Joel,
bro, 4?
I have a question. I
said what I said.
Drew, I have a question. You don't think? And before Joel, you go on your because I see you're angry. I know you want to go. I just want to ask Drew a quick question. You said you talked about how Justin Herbert has lack of talent on the offensive side. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. Do you think
at times last season when Keenan and both Mike Will were hurt?
Do you think the Bills are that much talented offensively than the Chargers or Josh
Stephon Diggs, and that's it.
It's no doubt. Josh Allen is a one-man show on that side when Stephon Diggs is being taken out of a game, which doesn't happen very often at all. But it's Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen. That's the offense.
So you don't hold that more value to a person who's like.
That's why I have him number 3.
I mean, no, I'm saying like if you're gonna have somebody like what he's doing 10, 11 wins, 12 wins, and he's the running back and the quarterback. You don't hold that to more value.
Oh, no, I do. I do, which is why I have him over a guy who, to many right now, is the second best quarterback in the game.
Well, he went to the Super Bowl, though.
No, for sure.
Josh Allen playoff resume clears Herbert's.
He has one game. Yeah.
Yeah, no, listen, I feel like it's not disrespect to have Burrow still in the top 4. I mean, he is a top 4 stamped quarterback. You can't have him any lower than that.
He's Joe Burrow, past 2 seasons, has been number 1 in passer rating in the NFL. Joe Burrow.
So he's better than Mahomes.
No, he's not. But Joe Burrow is the closest thing to that right now.
No, he's not.
He's the best quarterback at reading the field in the NFL. He has the best pocket presence. Between him and Justin Herbert, you talk about Cush Dean, you talk about that dog, it's Joe Burrow. He has it. He led a team with 0 offensive linemen that are good to the Super Bowl. Then the next year went to the AFC Championship and ruined your parlay in the second round of playoffs when he faced the Bills.
What's the parlay got to do?
That was me.
Drew,
I had a mental
outside of arm strength, what does Herbert do better?
I still think getting outside the pocket. Obviously, you could say that
he's much
better at manipulating the pocket, but I still think that
athlete.
Justin Herbert. I'm not saying he's not. Yeah. No one's saying that.
I just don't think the gap is big enough to be like.
I still think accuracy, anything arm related, I am taking Justin Herbert.
Escaping those arm, but anything else, I don't think so. Honestly.
Again, I'm taking everything arm related with Justin Herbert, him getting outside the pocket and making plays happen with his arm. When it comes to obviously being mobile, escaping the pocket, having great pocket presence, I'm with you. I get it. Joe Burrow, that's where he excels at. That's where he's made a lot of his money or will make a lot of his money. But I just look at Justin Herbert and his ability to make every single throw on the field. I believe in just his physical attributes. Again, as a Broncos fan, someone who has to see this man twice a year, I acknowledge that Justin Herbert is as great as he is, and I think that he's still the number 2 quarterback in my opinion.
My top 5 quarterbacks in the AFC are easy. Number 1 is Mahomes. Number 2 is Joe Burrow. Number 3, I still have Josh Allen. Despite everything negative that has went Josh Allen's way, it's so funny how with Justin Herbert, he blows a 27-point playoff lead. He has issues of his own when it comes to sustaining drives. Josh Allen has a down season, and his playoff performance against the Bengals is held against him more than Justin Herbert's performance against the against the Jaguars. I just don't get it. Josh Allen, to me, is still the 3rd best quarterback in the AFC when he's playing at his best, is no doubt. Number 4, I have Justin Herbert. Number 5, I have Trevor Lawrence. Unfortunately, I do not have Aaron Rodgers in the top 5. He's my 6th ranked quarterback, and then
where's Tua?
Behind Rodgers, I'd have Lamar Jackson.
Oh my Lord, have mercy!
I would have those top 4. I think I would still have Lamar over Trevor Lawrence, ever so slightly. That could change at the end of the season. And then Rodgers 6. Rodgers 6.
For me personally, Mahomes 1. Even I, the biggest Josh Allen meat rider, had to drop him to 3. Yeah, Joe Burrow at 2. I got Allen at 3. I have Herbert at 4. I'm still fucking with Lamar at 5. I still think he's still one of them dudes. I probably had like 2, 3. I think Aaron is probably still ahead of Trevor for me, and I think Trevor's like right after him. But I got Lamar at 5.
Yeah, I think Trevor's just a different animal, man. I think
this could be the year Trevor enters that top 3. He could go past
Herbert. He could go
past Allen.
Pardon me. I'm gonna say this though. Please, let's not forget. Deshaun Watson gets a full year this year.
Oh, you're right.
He does.
You're right.
He definitely does.
Well, that's another quarterback over Tua, in these rankings.
All right, damn. Well, yeah. Let's not forget.
My hot take coming to the season is that Trevor Lawrence is going to be an MVP candidate at minimum with Calvin Ridley. And so I think he'll be in the top 5 for me by the end of the season. But for now, I'm going to have Aaron Rodgers.
Minimum MVP.
Respect Rodgers because he was hurt last season.
That's why it's a hot take. But that's why it's a hot take.
I guess maximum Super Bowl if your minimum's MVP.
At minimum, he'll win the war for the best player in the league.
I'm not just reword that. I have Trevor Lawrence
John, that's your hot take,
John,
bro.
It's
fine.
I love the hot take.
It's fine. It's a hot take for a reason.
Trevor Lawrence is going to win his division.
Don't like each other up until this Grizzly series is over. So, no.
Say that one more time.
Until this Grizzly series is over, we're not friends. So
we're not friends. All right, fair enough. Fair enough. I get it.
Listen, John, you should extend that to the Warriors series as well.
No, thank you, because he's a man of integrity. I'm sorry. I'm hoping.
Oh, that's another jab, John. That's another jab.
John, you can't keep taking this, man. You can't keep taking this.
Bro, he said we weren't friends.
You better respect. You better respect John.
Drew, you'll be taking it round 2. Don't worry.
Okay. All right. Say pause.
Yeah, that was crazy. I won't lie.
On to the NBA portion of this podcast. We're going to start off with the Houston Rockets hiring Ime Udoka, Dehls' former head coach. Now, it is important to say that Adrian Wojnarowski reported that the NBA's investigation into Udoka's contact didn't find anything that precluded any team from hiring him as a head coach. Man, my Houston Rockets, man, where do I start?
What are we doing?
When it comes to the Houston Rockets, James Harden may have left, but the city still has my support 100% in what they do. I'm a Jalen Green fan. I think that's been apparent when I'll be tweeting about him all the time. And there's a chance James Harden comes back. Ime Udoka, 51-31, first-time head coach. Trip to the NBA Finals. I think the best part about him going to Houston is that Houston now has a head coach that is a truly great head coach. He will be proven because he will be tested, I should say, because Ime had some great assistants. You talk about Will Hardy. You talk about Joe Mazzulla. Those guys are 2 of the best head coaches in the NBA right now. So we're going to find out a lot about Ime and whether or not he was leaning on his assistants more so than he was making the calls when things got tough. But when it comes to this Rockets fit, Ime is somebody who will instill a winning culture in this team, instill toughness, hold players accountable. His first year as Celtics head coach, they had the first-ranked defense. Houston this season was 29th in defensive rating. I think he'll get these players to buy in defensively. And the problem with Houston is not scoring. They have a good offense when they're not free-balling out there, but they have capable offensive players. And if they can play defense, they can win more games than we expect next season. And I think to me, it's obvious why Ime took this job. I know people want to laugh at the Rockets organization. They have been mismanaged, but this team is an intriguing spot. You have a plethora of young talent with Jalen Green, Alperen Sengun, Jabari Smith, all players who have star potential. I think Tari Eason is a sleeper to be a star in this league because he has been that good as a rookie, as a two-way wing. And then you have other pieces like Kenyon Martin Jr., who's a good young player. Josh Christopher hasn't gotten minutes, but when he's gotten them, he's been good. And we'll see what they get out of Ty. Not to mention, you're going to get a top 3 pick. So you're either getting Victor, Scoot, or Brandon Miller. Those are 3 of the best prospects in this draft. You add that to this group of guys, that's a lot. And then you have salary cap. If the Rockets do indeed bring back James Harden with Ime's leadership, with this roster's young talent, maybe you sign another veteran or 2. This could be a play-in team next year, and the Rockets could make a sizable jump.
Before we dive into Ime real quick, I'm gonna praise him. It's something we're never gonna know what exactly went down in Boston to end his tenure there, but ultimately we're probably never gonna know what exactly fully went down. I think for the Rockets, though, from a basketball perspective, this was a total home run. what we talk about that Celtics team is, they went to the finals, but not really the part of the season where they're under 500, losing to teams like the Wizards nonstop, and they seem like they're on track to be a playing team. And after Brad Stevens stepped down, it was Ime that took that team to the finals for the first time in over a decade. It was Ime that took Jason Tatum's game to another level offensively and really maximized the defensive talent for a Celtics team that, look, they had like 4 or 5 elite defenders damn near individually. But it wasn't until Udoka came in that they became a top 5 defense, truly elite, top 1 by the end of the season. So in terms of what the Rockets are getting here, the most important thing is probably not just his resume, but it's the accountability that he brought into Boston, because the Celtics kind of tuned out at a certain point Brad Stevens, but with Udoka, they fully bought in and invested into his defensive principles. And offensively, he got the team to play more in flow. It was less ISO-centric, and we saw by the playoffs that was the difference maker, and then going further along. But I think for the Rockets, they ultimately got Udoka because they were going to pay him more than any other team. And it seemed like, to be honest, they probably didn't really care too much about what went down in Boston as well. I don't know if their morals are as high as the Raptors, who are another team that was interested in Udoka, but they have a lot of female assistants within the organization. I didn't really think he was going to get hired by the Raptors, to be honest with you guys. But the last thing for the Rockets, though, is they have $60 million this offseason with the projected second overall pick, and they're going to phase 2 of a rebuild where, look, after this year, they don't have their first-round pick most likely. That's top 4 protected in 2024 because of the Westbrook trade. So not only do you have to entice free agents to want to come, which having a better head coach helps with that, but you also have the internal pressure of, okay, Raphael Stone, our general manager, is on the hot seat. We have to start winning games because the last 3 years have been the worst team in the league. And I think that's what really led them to just taking the no-brainer hire here in Udoka.
Oh, man. Basketball. I like the hire. I like the hire for the simple fact of I like the mindset that Ime comes to, he brings into the locker room. He's a guy that holds his players accountable. He's a guy that's very stern. He's the guy that brings that confidence into his players. And for Houston, they need that. You know, Joel, you rattled off the players. A lot of those guys are young, inexperienced, still go wild guys. They need that type of take accountability, that type of coach who's going to sit here and tell them right from wrong. And I think that's important. That's somebody that they need. I don't know what type of draft pick they're going to have in this upcoming draft. You know, that's going to be important. That's going to be the first pick Ime gets to fully develop, and I think that is going to be huge. But bringing in somebody with the mentality that Ime has, or the maturity that Ime is looking for, I think that's important. But this is a good start for Houston's rebuild. You know, I think they've been rebuilding for some time. They didn't really know how to do it the right way. I think this is a really good start. He may not, you know, be the best hire. He may not be the best development coach, but somebody with his personality, his aura, his persona, you kind of need that in the locker room full of young kids, kind of kids with no direction, guys who don't really listen to their coach now. And I think the staff he builds is going to be more important too. You know, the guys he brings around, guys who can help these younger players after practice and behind the scenes. I think that's also really important, because if you look, for example, Steve Kerr's cast out there in Golden State is elite. You know, he had Kenny Atkins, he had Mike Brown, he had Barboza for some time. Like, he had some dudes in that cast that were really Steve Nash, who helped Kevin Durant, helped Steph Curry. So when you have that coach and then the people behind him that's just as good as the coach, I think that just makes it even better for the process. So shout out to Houston. First good move. Now it's the draft. See where they go from here. But I like what they're doing with Ime. I really do.
How's my audio?
Stinky.
Sounds great.
Okay. Thank you, John. Rev, that was unnecessary.
It's normal.
Yeah, it's not great. Whatever. Give me a mic. Anyway,
that was backhanded. That was backhanded. It's normal. It's normal.
It's so rude. This Ime hire, I love it. From a Celtics perspective, he came in bit of a shaky start, and it's going to be interesting to see how his personality meshes with Houston, because when he first got there in Boston, that is, he was calling out the players. He was calling out Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum, and Jaylen Brown. And they, at first, it didn't go over, I think, as well as people anticipated. You know, you leave from Brad Stevens, who's just getting through all these conference finals, who moves up to president of basketball ops. So Ime, there's a bit of skepticism, I think, around him at that time when he enters Boston. So maybe the trust wasn't there. But obviously, by the end of the season, that second half turnaround that really relied on their defense proved everything of how great of a coach he is. In terms of player development, or I guess player relationships, Jason Tatum said it's his favorite coach he's ever had, from college, high school, to Missoula, to Brad Stevens. He said Ime is his favorite coach. And then you have Jaylen Brown, who reportedly didn't always see eye to eye with Ime. So you have two superstars who are a bit on a different spectrum with this head coach. And it's also interesting to note that we never really figured out what exactly happened with this whole scandal. It was never something that seems like it didn't allow, or I should say, it didn't not allow Ime to get another head coaching position. He obviously went to Houston. He got the job. He was interested in the Brooklyn job after they fired Steve Nash. So whatever happened was not bad enough for him to knock another job, but it was also never really made 100% public what actually transpired. For Houston, this is a great hire. They need someone who's going to hold these young guys accountable. They're going to need someone who's going to instill defense on this team, because this team played no type of defense. Their offense was gross. I mean, they're a reason why they have one of the best odds to get the number one overall pick. They won like fucking 18 games. They were not a good team last year. Steven Silas, going from Silas to Ime is going to be one of the biggest jumps in head coach that we are going to see in the NBA this season. So I think it's a great hire for Houston.
Bro, one of minor W's for the Houston Rockets was that they almost had as many road wins as the Golden State Warriors. So, you take your minor victories where you can. As for talking about
what the fuck? Like, what was the point of that? Like, we finished higher.
It's round two, bro. You
know what? That was a bait. I'm not even
gonna 22
I'm gonna take the higher road.
Yeah, smart. So talk about Ime to the Rockets.
Stop this Jaylen Brown to Houston. I see it all the time. Jaylen Brown and Ime did not get along. So
Tatum's going to Houston.
Away.
Tatum's leaving. Shit. Then you're really fucked.
So Atlanta.
Brown is 10 for 13 right now.
Yeah.
Ime going to Houston is an amazing hire for literally every single reason that you guys said. What Houston needs is accountability and a head coach that's going to light a fire under their ass. And now I don't want to say that Steven Silas is solely to blame for that, because he really did not have as much say as he may have wanted to, because of the organization and what they were telling him behind the scenes and really handcuffing his ability to be a true head coach. I just hope for Ime's sake that he has free range to do whatever he needs to do for the betterment of this team. But it really does start with the draft when talking about this Houston Rockets team. Yes, I understand that that Brandon Miller's intriguing. Obviously, if you have the number one overall pick, you take Victor Wembanyama. But if you have the number two overall pick, you go Scoop, because you desperately need that point guard that you can finally look at if you're the Houston Rockets, say this guy is going to initiate our offense. I understand that Sengun's a great passer in and of himself, but regardless, you need that true point guard so that you can get guys like Jalen Green involved, and Jalen Green doesn't have to worry about anything other than getting a bucket. And you have a guy in Scoot who can get him into his spots. Jabari Smith now has a point guard that he can work with the pick and roll, the pick and pop now. Sengun also, that they can have the back and forth of who can play make. I think that if I'm the Rockets, I definitely want Scoot on my team. But in talking about Ime, the reason why this is just a great hire is because you need someone that can really just have these players motivated to want to get to that next level. Because right now, that's what these players are lacking. They're lacking accountability. And I think that that's what Ime will provide.
When you look at what Ime did for Robert Williams and how he improved as a passer in the short post, I think that in the low post, I do think that Sengun can improve mightily under Ime in similar aspects. And Sengun is a much more gifted passer than Robert Williams. So I think that Ime will use him in a lot of different ways. Scoot would be a good pick, because he's ultra talented. But I don't think that the Rockets need a young point guard to come here. I think they need an established player. And that player is James Harden. It's been rumored this entire season that James Harden is open to going back to Houston. Kevin Porter Jr. is not the guy long-term for them at that position. James Harden has obviously transitioned his game from being score first to pass first. And I think that him being in a starting lineup of a team with Jalen Green and Tari Eason and Jabari and Sengun can do a lot for those players' games and to open them up.
So at 2, you would take Brandon.
I wouldn't take Brandon. I probably would still take Scoot if I'm at 2, but I would still bring in James Harden, and I'd have Scoot earn his spot.
I think Brandon Miller is one of the best wing prospects in years, but here's the reality. Houston is praying for Victor because no team needs him more. Alperen Şengün can't protect the rim. He's not a good defender. He's also not floor spacer much either. We don't think he'll develop that. So if you can pair him up with a center that can shoot it, can protect the rim, and also has a handle as well, that would be the perfect pairing, I think, in the front court. But I agree with you wholeheartedly, Joel, because KPJ is the perfect six-man, I would say, as that spark plug, but not a guy that comes out at the gate and starts. More importantly, closes games here because he's a little bit too erratic, particularly on the ball. But James Harden, I think we all know at this point, is probably going to end up there because it's hard to imagine Philadelphia paying him. And if that's the case, what team has the most cap space? It is the Rockets. Harden, if memory serves, said, I'm going to be back. And it seems like this, if they can get a top 3 pick, maybe 1 or 2 veterans in the wing, that would be a good opportunity for him.
It could be a team that is very great in a couple years.
I don't know. I don't know if I would tie money to Harden. I don't know. That's
short-term deal.
You're not tying it
to why wouldn't Philly sign Harden?
You said what, John? I'm sorry.
They've got a lot of money. And this free agent class stinks. They desperately need a point guard that can play make, space the floor. Harden's taking a little more of the catch and shoot stuff. He knows at this point, hey, look, it may not work out this year in Philadelphia. We get bounced. Let me go to Houston, where I'm from. No state income tax. Daryl Morey is no longer there, but I'll get paid a lot of money, and I get to be that mentor as I go into my twilight years. Maybe a 4-year deal. I wouldn't be surprised if they gave him a 4-year, which if I'm Philadelphia, I don't know if I give that to him.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I do think they need that. They need somebody to relax the offense a bit. I think that is James Harden ultimately. And to move on to the next topic, I'm going to let you guys take it over from here because I have a flight to catch in a couple hours. And I will be in Jersey. And for you guys listening and watching, we will be back in the studio this Friday for the next podcast episode. But I'm going to be off this. You guys can finish off the show. And I'll catch you guys later. And don't forget to read the super chats as well.
Come on, we got it. Drill. Are you going to take it from here, or am I going to take it?
Sure, I can take it over, Brody. No worries.
All
right, guys. I'll catch you guys.
Riv, bro. Hey, have a safe flight, King.
Right? Safe flight. Safe flight.
What do you want from me?
No, Riv. I'm sorry. I thought you were saying something to me. I wasn't sure if.
No, John said, "Will you take it or I'll take it?" I said, "Whoa."
Oh, yeah, for sure, John.
That you guys both crazy. Take it.
Not everything needs to be taken that way. Why is your mind?
Whoa, I don't want to take it that way. I'm good. I'm straight, bro.
All right, so regardless, moving on from this awkward exchange, we're going to talk about now the Clippers and now their current. Now, as it currently stands, the Clippers are 3-1 down to the Phoenix Suns. Prior to Kawhi going down before Game 3, this series was looking rather interesting because every single game, the Clippers were right in it and giving the Phoenix Suns a run for their money. But now, as we sit, it's 3-1 down. Kawhi Leonard has now missed will now miss what it was seemingly be his, third straight game. Yep. So with Paul George now missing the entirety of the season and Kawhi Leonard now missing 3 games, what is our opinion on the Clippers? Are the Clippers one of those teams that we're looking at and just, hey, Kawhi, PG did not work out? Do you run it back or do you want a change of scenery? Talk to me, Riv. What do you think?
Hey, I'm glad you went this way because I've demoted the Clippers. They're now my 5th favorite team. I had to demote them.
So number 2 to 5?
Yeah. They dropped
just 5. Like that. Wait,
Riv, how many favorite teams are on this list?
2?
No, Riv, what's the list?
So what happened?
So one?
I'll give you a quick fallback. So when the Bulls lost to the Heat in the play-in, they dropped. I couldn't do that shit no more. So I dropped them to 4, and the Cavs went up.
Favorite team.
Yeah, and then the Clippers went up. The Warriors have stayed 1 for a very long time.
Dude, you're so gross.
Yeah. And then OKC flew up because it's time. It's time
Talk
to put that hat
flip
on.
Aside. This guy has 7 different teams.
I've made this tweet that I have 9 teams. I've made this tweet already. This tweet is out.
But how?
All right, give us the breakdown.
The outside teams I'm okay with, but when Chicago is your favorite, Steph Curry is your favorite player, Chicago is your favorite team. You're just players everywhere else.
They dropped it, bro.
The only reason why I don't give Riv shit is because he's one of the only people that does not harass me for being a LeBron fan anymore. So that's why I let him rock. No, he can't. He simply can't. So at this point.
But I've openly admitted I'm a front-running fuck. So this is.
Yeah, you have. That's why I let you rock. At least you're open and honest. Yeah. But talk to me. What do you think the Clippers should do right now? Should they run it back or is it time to blow it up?
Well, you have to go back in history, the NBA book, the historian, and you have to watch this shit as it begins. In hindsight, everybody can admit it was bad, but 99% of people make that deal regardless. You get
100%, Riff.
No, there's idiots, John. So you got to remember, that's why I say 99%, because there is people that are not, you get Kawhi. Kawhi says, you get me my boy PG, I'll come. No brainer. You do it ASAP. Every time. The bubble happens, right? And
Way Off P is born.
Way Off P is indeed born. You blow a 3-1 lead. I didn't think that was their year to win, though. I think the year that was really their year to win was that 2021 year.
You're right.
Where they went to play Phoenix. I thought the way Kawhi was playing, the way Ty Lue was out coaching guys, the way PG started to kick it up, they felt like the connection was there. I thought that was T-Man was on the scene. Reggie Jackson was having some games. I thought that was really the year where it's like, okay, wait a minute. The Clippers could actually make a run to the finals. They can see the Bucks. Then Kawhi goes down. And then that's just the beginning of multiple stories of the same shit going on. Kawhi goes down, but then PG goes down. PG comes back for the play-in, but then boom, they lose in the play-in. Then PG's hurt. Then Kawhi's hurt. Now PG gets hurt. And that injury wasn't really his fault, so you can't fault him for that. PG just got hurt, landed wrong. Then Kawhi, he tried to play through the knee injury. I don't know why people are acting like he's not hurt. He genuinely tried to play through he still had 30 on a bad knee. Nuts. But this is a failure. I'm not going to sit here and be oblivious to the fact that it's a failure. This is 100% a failure. You built this team to win a championship. You built this team to win multiple championships. And the reason why I'm one of the people that call the Lakers tenure with LeBron a disappointment, because they built that team to win multiple championships. So
come on, Joel.
Sorry.
Come on, bro.
What? I thought it was tenure.
Oh, it was never tenure. It'll never be tenure.
Oh my God, Joel! You're just going to double down on being a prick? Go ahead.
No, it's fine. Thank you, Dehls. I needed that. The Clippers didn't win one chip. So just like how we look at Brooklyn, we have to look at the Clippers in the same way. Complete, utter dog shit failure. Now, the next question, should they run him back? I mean, Ballmer has never shown that he wants to rebuild. He's always been pretty aggressive in his moves. He's always been, I want to keep this team as competitive as it can be, because in reality, it brings them a lot of money. And they're bringing in a new stadium. PG and Kawhi are due for money in about a season or two. I think Ballmer will probably, because this team, as much as they might not win a championship, we can't acknowledge that they're not competitive. This team is a competitive, consistent playoff team when they're healthy, when they got their guys. They make series competitive. We saw before Kawhi went down, this series would have went 6 or 7 games with just Kawhi. We can only imagine what it would have done with PG. So I think Ballmer will probably stay aggressive. I think he'll continue to make multiple moves to keep this team in the hunt, to keep this team playoffs hopes alive. And at this point, you can't really get anything for Paul George and Kawhi. So I don't see the benefits of trading away them, especially with these injuries. Kawhi's knee made it even worse. His value drops again. PG with this injury, his value drops again. They're getting older in age. They have a bunch of old players with big contracts. So I just see him retooling and consistently building his team back up to be a playoff contender.
I want to respond to what you have to say, and then obviously John and Joel, you guys could go. But it's interesting because I definitely agree with your sentiment that Ballmer is not the type to rebuild, retool. However, if you look at the last couple of years and the disappointment that's been not being able to have both Kawhi and Paul George on the court at the same time, outside from the bubble year, and ironically that was, and I agree, their best chance to win was that 2021 season where Kawhi did end up tearing his ACL, that series against the Utah Jazz. They ended up winning regardless. That team was that good. Paul George was playing at the level that you had anticipated when Paul George was acquired by the Clippers. The reason why I feel as if, though, you need to try and rebuild and retool is because I am under the belief that you can trade Kawhi Leonard and still get assets that are beneficial for this team in the future. I still am under the belief that if you trade Paul George, you will get assets that are beneficial for the future. And it's sad. It's sad. And I say this as a Laker fan, as someone who does not like the Clippers by any means. I can still openly admit that the hell of a team, and at full strength, they are a team that I do not want to mess with. That's the team in the Western Conference that I wanted to see the least, because I understand how great they are and how bad of a matchup they are for a team like the Los Angeles Lakers. But at full strength, they're go ahead.
But my only problem with that is, where would Kawhi get traded to?
See, I'm not gonna.
There
will be a team that wants Kawhi Leonard.
Minnesota for Cat.
I'm screaming.
All right, guys. Look, Kawhi and Paul George are not going to get traded. And the reason why is no matter what you get in return for them, it is not going to be worth the own draft picks you're giving up to the Oklahoma City Thunder the next 3 years. Okay, if you're going to rebuild, you're going to have top 5, top 10 picks. And that's the situation the Rockets found themselves in, where they're rebuilding now. And in 2021 and in 2024, they didn't have the first round picks. It was top 4 protected. But with the Clippers, those are unprotected. I think next season is a pick swap, and the Thunder by then will be a surefire playoff team. So that's the first part. And the second part of the equation is that, look, they're building this new arena, and they got to sell. And the reality is, the high note in the Clippers franchise was 2021 when they made it to the conference finals, and there was a hope they could make it to the finals with Kawhi Leonard not even being on the floor. Look, I don't agree entirely with the roster construction this season, but they have young talent here. They have Ivica Zubac, Terrence Mann, Bones Highland, Russell Westbrook's playing his best playoff basketball since his days in Oklahoma City in the early 2010s, and even Norman Powell showing to be an absolute bucket off the bench. This Clippers team is a contender when those two guys are on the floor. And there is this aura in the NBA. You have to win a championship or it's a bust. And with the Clippers, look, it has been a failure because they haven't accomplished that. But the reality is there's no better alternative than this. And I look at teams like the Knicks 5 years ago, teams that had a star in Carmelo Anthony, moved on, and are just stuck in the middle of nowhere. Not even purgatory because they couldn't hit on draft picks, and they're like a 22-win team every season. What the Clippers are going through right now, winning 45 to 50 games each season, it's not too bad when you have a chance to win a championship if your 2 stars stay healthy. Kawhi's 32, Paul George is 31. I think among teams in the NBA, they have a great owner that's going to spend a lot of money, a very good head coach, and a quality roster is a solid spot at minimum to be in. And for this Clippers team, it's just, I'm kind of tired of the whole conversation, the dialogue around Kawhi and how he should retire because the guy's playing through injuries. Like,
yeah, that's nuts.
They're in a really good spot, I think, compared to how much people talk about them in a negative manner. So, I'm just not with them, man. They're going to stick the course here. And I think by the time Kawhi and PG are old and no longer in their primes, that's when they'll have their first round picks. And then they can rebuild in 3 or 4 years. But until 2025, this team is going to look very similar to the way it does now.
John, if you're sick,
older than Kawhi. He's 33. Paul George is 33.
Whatever. John, if you're sick,
basketball reference, you better watch yourself, Riv, because I was just doing my due diligence before.
No, I'm under the belief that Paul George is older than Kawhi. I could be wrong, but I'm a Paul George eater.
You know what, Riv? I mixed the two up in my notes. Paul George is 32, and Kawhi is 31 years old.
That's all crazy, too, on you.
Thank you. See, that's all, John. I'm not trying to disrespect you, John. I'm not trying to disrespect you, John.
Gloss over the
John, if you're sitting around the Clipper dialogue,
up until this summer, Paul George will be 32 years old. Then he's turning 33. Okay. So he's getting older. Okay. But his game will age rather well.
No, his game is fine.
If you're sick of the Clipper dialogue, aren't you also sick of the if Paul George and Kawhi stay healthy, X can happen? Because that's what I'm sick of at this point. I said it at the beginning of this season. I remember we had OG on the show in November, whenever it was, and he said, I'm done. I was like, OG, I'm not ready to get there yet. And a couple months later, I'm like, he was right. OG is right. You can't go into every single season, have the same 2 superstars. And I don't want to sit here and sound disrespectful because you never wish these guys to get hurt. But year after year after year, this team gets injured. And their 2 best players are 2 of the more injury-prone players in the league. And we're seeing it now to the nth degree where you have a chance to get past the Suns. They had a chance without even Paul George to get past the Suns. They're being competitive right now without Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. So now you're going to be going into next season hoping that they're going to be able to stay healthy. Newsflash, they're not. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong saying we're going into year 4, right? Next season, year 5, they've never been able to stay healthy. Regardless if it's round 1, before round 1, the Western Conference, whatever it is, they have not been able to stay healthy. So while I don't think you could go into a rebuild because you have this new arena that you spent billions of dollars on, you can't go into a rebuild and win 25 games. That's going to be just nasty work for that organization. Steve Ballmer is not going to do it. But I do think a retool is probably necessary. And to me, although Kawhi Leonard is the best player on this team, you're probably better off trading Kawhi and trying to get a different number 1 player. And it's hard to find that guy that could be that number 1. But I don't think Cat, who's not a number 1, but I think someone like a Cat, Jimmy Butler, they need a change of scenery for their best player because Paul George is going to come in. He's going to be your number 2. But I don't think you can keep on relying on Kawhi Leonard to be your number 1 when he's consistently hurt and not able to perform in the playoffs.
He is coming off a torn ACL, though. And that's where I like to give him some slack, because before the torn ACL, which was an unlucky play where Joe Ingles tried to take a transition take foul on him, like, he's a guy that hasn't missed time in the postseason, excluding 2018. So, yes, you're right. But it's always a matter of, is the grass greener on the other side? And like getting Karl Anthony Towns, another injury prone player that literally has a ceiling in the playoffs, whereas Paul George and Kawhi don't have a ceiling, is an even worse and surely less desirable situation to be in. So look, to have two stars that want to be on your team, no matter what happens, is a huge, huge X factor that, like, no matter what happens, these guys are going to opt into their deals. They're going to be here long term. And there's always that what if of one season, maybe they do stay healthy. And then the patience, the 5 or 6 years you waited, maybe does result in a second Western Conference Finals appearance. If you move them, I don't think you're going to get enough in return that's going to be worth trading them, given the upside you do have. Is it a jaded conversation where I have to go into the logistics of that? Yeah. But just in terms of what's the better option here, there is none. This is the option. I don't think it's that terrible, for as much as it is disappointing that they haven't been able to stay healthy up until this point.
So, Riv and John, you guys are both on the same assumption that you keep Kawhi, you keep Paul George, and just hope for the best.
Absolutely.
No, I think I'm just going off of Ballmer's mindset. And, like, I completely forgot about the Clippers haul that they trade. I forgot they were. So, it's like,
yeah, even if debt to OKC.
Even if you want to rebuild, you're practically giving OKC more additional picks. So, I think the best bet is to be competitive. You have to be for the time being.
The worry is, though, at the minimum, you don't have first-round picks at all if you decide to keep Kawhi, you keep Paul George, and your ultimate goal of winning a championship never comes true if these guys aren't on the court at the same time. So the way I see it, and the way that the Brooklyn Nets approached it was, hey, we traded all of our picks to acquire James Harden. We then traded James Harden. We then traded Kyrie Irving. We then traded Kevin Durant, understanding that Houston still has all of our draft picks. But what's going to happen? Now we still acquired enough assets that we're going to remain relevant, and we still have a boatload of draft picks that we're going to use to benefit us. I think the Clippers could take that same approach. And another thing, if you guys are on that belief that, hey, we're going to ride it out with Paul George, we're going to ride it out with Kawhi Leonard, then are you guys on the same side that, hey, let's ride it out with Zion, or are we going to trade Zion while we can? Because if you're going to ride it out with Paul George and Kawhi, who are older, obviously proven in the playoffs when they're together, they can accomplish a ton. But Zion, a younger cat who we understand that when he's healthy, when he's on the court, he is one of the best in the game. Mm-hmm. Are you guys on that side? Hey, let's ride it out with Zion, or let's move? Because if you guys are going to stay, you're on the let's ride it out.
We're with you. Let's ride it out, because what is Zion's value in this current point?
Wait.
See, that's why I know. That's why I said this, because I know Riv is on the, hey, you got to move on.
Yeah, but
so talk to me.
Yeah, I got you. John, don't ever say we ever again. We will never be on the same team.
Good.
Never.
I never want to be on the same team.
Never. Yeah, I know, John. Yeah, I know. What's the name? I think it's that's two different cases, because, like you mentioned it a little bit, Kawhi's, when he plays, he's a little bit more proven. Obviously, playoffs, we know how Kawhi gets. And with Zion, he's missed 98% of his NBA career already. It's kind of like he just started. So, and you can probably Zion can give you more value than Kawhi and PG, I think, combined, honestly. Like, Zion is much younger. He's more dominant. He can still change his diet. He can still change his game. As where Kawhi and PG, this is them. This is who they're going to be. Kawhi's knees are done. Like, they've been done since Toronto. There was a report, like I read some report that he's had bad knees since Toronto. They're never going to get better. So this is what's going to be. You just have to hope the injury happens never or somewhere before or some shit. And then PG, it just shit that happens to PG be freak accidents. So I'm sorry for him. I really be feeling bad. Shit that happens to him is just freak accident. But for Zion, he's much younger. You know, so that plays a part. His contract is a little bit less than both of them, so that also plays a part. He doesn't get paid as much as the other guy, and he's more. There's more unknown with Zion's ability and potential, so that's why it's a little different than for the Clippers case. And the Pelicans have draft picks, so that's
true.
What are you getting for Zion Williamson? Like, what is the best offer out there? Real quick, because I'm sorry to make us go on this long Zion tangent, but what do you guys think?
I think personally,
think you get 4 or 5 firsts.
Yeah, I think you can steal a big haul from a bad team.
You think a team is going to 5 first-round picks for Zion?
Yes. Maybe that's 5, but I think 3.
5 got traded for Rudy Gobert. There's no doubt in my mind that Zion Williamson, a guy
Zion
that you
played,
but the Timberwolves don't have any picks left to trade.
But also, how many teams are willing to give up 5 for Gobert?
I'm not saying the Timberwolves.
Was it just Minnesota? Like, I think there'd be more suitors lining up to get Zion, give up multiple picks, than there were for Gobert to give up 5.
Minnesota was the perfect storm, though, of brand new GM, brand new ownership, and just an absolute trigger. They want to make a splash. I think that's the difference.
So we're talking about.
Sorry, nothing.
It's all right, man. It's all right. So we're talking about next steps. So let's talk about a team that might have to look for its next steps, and that's the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, the Cleveland Cavaliers are in a shocking 3-1 deficit to the New York Knicks. And I say shocking because I think all of us here believe that the Cavaliers would be the better team and would be in, let me not say the opposite position, but not in a position where it is looking like their impending doom is evident. So, again, Riv, we're going to start with you.
My third favorite team.
What are the next steps for the Cleveland Cavaliers? What do they have to do to get better and reach that next step in the NBA playoffs?
This is my third team. They jumped up to my third team, and this is the team me and John text about a lot. We go back and forth on it because we're in shambles. We were texting the other day, and I texted him like, "We're fucked, bro." Like after we lost Game 4, I was like, "Bro, we're fucked." He texted me back like, "I know, bro." Like it was so bad. They just need it. Like people are. I've been in spaces where they're like, "Fire JB." I've been in others. I caught one. You know what, John? You're a fucking sucker, and I'm gonna tell you why you're a sucker. Because I caught you on the last EP talking about Donovan can be the number 1 and shit like that. Shit like that. I think people are over exaggerating to this loss. I think this is the first year. Yes, they got their ass whipped. Nobody's disputing that. And I think this series
is ugly too.
This series is what they needed because it showed the weaknesses of this team. They were a top 10 offense and defense in the league for the regular season. So we assumed, well, this team is elite. Let's see what they do. Walk into the playoff series, the Knicks out-muscled them, out-manhandled them. Their bench came to play. Even quickly, didn't really have a good series, and they still came to play. Yeah, so I think this series just showed weaknesses, and they can improve. I think the roster, their big 4 is good. I mean, Jaron Allen might need to get moved, though. Mitch completely just outworked him. Mobley needs to get better, but we knew that. Garland is young. He needs to get better, but we know that. They're young players. I think the role players and bringing in guys who can defend and can hit the 3 ball, because the spacing for Mitchell was not good. Like, I'm not discrediting Jalen Brunson. He was amazing. I'm not going to sit here and say he didn't outperform Donovan Mitchell, but people have to watch the game and understand that what both guys were seeing from a defensive coverage wasn't the same thing. And Donovan Mitchell was seeing much more difficult defensive coverage, and that's because of the lack of spacing for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And that's no excuse. I still want you my superstar, I need you to come show out to town at least twice, but we can acknowledge the fact that the team also did not come to play and they weren't good. So I think the next step for Cleveland is it starts with Garland and Mobley. Like, I know people love to say Mobley is the guy it starts with Garland and Mobley. It's both of those guys. They need to make that ascension into the next spot. Because you saw when Garland was hot, and Mitchell was being more of a playmaker. You saw how electric this team was. When Garland was a scorer, he was doing his thing, and they were playing off each other. You saw how electric it was. Mobley obviously needs to get better. They need to find more bench players and more depth. That's the problem. They need a backup big. They need wings that can defend, space the floor. And this draft class is weak with superstar talent, but there's a lot of good role players in this draft class. And I think this is one where they can definitely invest in and be like, all right, we know what we need to do. Because when you saw the series in the Knicks, and I said it, but I kind of contradicted myself because the bias took control of me. But I did say in a lot of these series, role players are one of the most important things for teams nowadays. And the Knicks role players completely and utterly beat the Cavs role players by a wide, substantial mark. So I think the Cavs aren't in a bad spot as much as people like to make it seem. I just think this loss was so bad that people are like throwing the temper tantrum and panic. So, I mean, I cried too. I'm not going to sit here and lie. Like when Garland was shooting 4 for 21, I was in pain. But they're fine. I think this is their first year together. They'll be fine.
And what's really been is disappointment, because we expect so much from this Cavaliers team that when you lose the 2 games on the road, they should have won each of the 2 games versus the Knicks. Like, the Knicks won, and they're up 3-1, but the Knicks haven't played well in this series either. They've just played slightly better, more physical than the Cavaliers.
Not offensively, at least.
Yeah, offensively, they've both been terrible, and the Cavs have actually shot a little bit better. And the issue is just patience. Evan Mobley is 21 years old, and it's going to take him 3 years. In 3 years, let's come back and see how far he's progressed offensively. Does he have a floater? Is he more confident? Does he fill out his frame? I'm sure he will. Darius Garland, it's his first time in that playoff setting, but we've seen the high-end outcome for him. That's why so many like me toot his horn. The last thing, though, for the Cavaliers is like, I heard Zach Lowe talking about it. Imagine you just put fucking Torrey Craig on this Cavaliers team right now, and he was spacing the floor and knocking down shots. How much that would change this offense? I love Jared Allen, but in this series, as Riv said, he has not played well. If you swap him out for a quality Wayne, and off the top of my head, I haven't been able to find a team that's also needy of Jared Allen, but then you get floor spacing at the 3, and you get a two-way player. Maybe you remove some of the burn off Isaac Okoro so he can come off the bench. I also think Okoro should play more, though. Same with Dean Wade. Then you have so much more spacing to where, hey, look, the Knicks can't just throw 3 guys on a pick and roll, double teaming Donovan Mitchell every single time down. And if you have more spacing, more shot making, and ideally a third creator that's more reliable than Karis LeVert, this Cavaliers team is a bona fide contender. It really just comes down to spacing and depth. Because they lack those two things sorely, and Kobe Altman did not address them at all this year outside signing Danny Green, I think they've got some work to do this offseason. But if he can press the right button, just 2 buttons, next year at this time, you're going to look at them and say,
John.
Third creator. Yeah, go ahead, Riv. I'm sorry.
No, we need like 5 buttons. I'll be honest with you. This shit was crazy.
Really just
the bench needs help.
We need a starting wing. We need a starting wing and 3 bench players. A bench big.
The bench is ugly.
And then another
guard.
It's
like you guys could use a guy like Kevin Love. Probably would have been a very a solid role player for you guys, right?
He did fall out the rotation at a certain point.
Yeah, I don't know why, because now he has a role on Miami that I'm sure that you guys would have just benefited from. You need an extra body.
Hardenstein would have outplayed him.
Yeah, I mean, Hardenstein has been outplaying arguably Jared Allen. That's how great Hardenstein has been.
Look, Riv, you like Isaac Okoro. I like Dean Wade. Dean Wade was hurt this year. Okoro's not getting enough minutes. Those 2 guys can be good bench.
I'm talking about Dean Wade and Isaac Okoro.
If that's your 8th and 9th guys off the bench, you'll be just fine. Just
maybe 9th and 10th.
I'm gonna let Dehls and Drew cook, but I have a question, John. Why the fuck are you a Dean Wade guy? Like I'm a
good player. He got hurt this year, bro.
Like, I'm gonna
shoot it. Dean Wade defensively. He's a solid player.
He sucks.
Okay, dude. You're going to go on this whole tangent about how he has a bad feel for the game. If he can shoot, he holds up defensively, and he can attack close out the party. He does not suck.
I'm sick of John with these guys. Like,
John Conchar, Dean Wade.
Yeah, but hey, John. If you don't think John Conchar is good, you are a casual.
No, he's John Conchar.
Dean Wade was hurt. He looks like you. Shoulder surgery. Before that surgery, he was the 5th best player on the Cavaliers, making shots, attacking closeouts, more consistent than Karis LeVert, who one game would drop 41 versus Celtics, and the next game is 0 points. Oh my God,
welcome
what are you
Karis
doing?
LeVert show. So, like what first time?
Yeah,
LeVert's inconsistent.
I think Dean Wade is a quality rotation player. Just he's hurt this year, and I don't think he just made enough shots early on in the going.
Yeah, I'm sure, buddy. Cook up, fellas, because this guy, I'm sick of this guy.
Go ahead, Jolie Lowe.
The Cavs need a few things, a lot. Listen, you guys hit on a lot of things they're missing. This Knicks series, I think, opens a lot of eyes, though. I mean, Riv was over here before the season saying ECF sleeper, and now they're probably going to get bounced in round 1. There's a few things wrong with this Cavs team. I mean, number one, a lot of the problems this year, or this series, I should say, is like feels like they're getting outworked. Feels like they're getting the Knicks are being more physical. Neither of these teams are shooting the ball well offensively. It could get really ugly at times. Was it game 3 where it was 42-30 at halftime? Like, it was some really ugly basketball being played. And when you have Garland and Donovan Mitchell, you would expect the offense to come a little bit easier, especially compared to this Knicks team that Julius Randle has played basically like dog shit outside of like one half. Outside of that, Julius Randle has not been good. So they've really just had Jalen Brunson in terms of an offensive creator, an offensive engine. And that's really all they've had. And they've looked better than having Donovan Mitchell and Garland, who Garland's had his struggles. Donovan Mitchell's had his struggles. And you talk about the spacing on this team, you have your talented or your best 5 is with Jared Allen and Evan Mobley out there. But right now, neither of those guys can space the floor. Jared Allen is never going to be able to space the floor. That's just not his game. I think Evan Mobley has the ability to, at some point in his career, extend his jump shot. And if he's able to, at some point, get a 3-point jump shot, we might be talking 2 or 3 years down the road, Now we're talking about a completely different Cleveland Cavaliers team, because I don't know if in today's NBA you're going to be able to consistently play maybe 35 to 40 minutes and have 3 guys who can't shoot the basketball. It's bad enough that you're going to have to put Isaac Okoro out there, but you're going to pair him with 2 other guys who can't shoot. I mean, the Cavs could have a good regular season because their defense is going to be sensational, but once it comes playoff time, they're going to be able to get exposed. So this offseason, they needed desperately another guy, not only another guy to get a basket, but they need a 2-way player, because right now they have guys who could either defend and can't shoot like Isaac Okoro, or you have guys who could shoot and play make but not defend like a Karis LeVert. So I think 2-way players are obviously very hard to find in this league. Everyone's trying to find a 2-way player who could be able to switch on defense, be able to knock down shots offensively. So it's very easy to say. But I think if the Cavs are able to find, you probably need at least 2 of those guys. So Okoro could get pushed to maybe the 7th guy on that bench, and Osman the 8th guy, and you have Dean Wade, like, John's favorite player. But I think it really comes down to the absolute peak of this team is going to be Evan Mobley at some point being able to extend his jump shot. Because if you could have Mobley being able to be somewhat of a respectable 3-point shooter, now you have Jared Allen sitting in the paint, fill out that 3 spot, and you have Garland and Mitchell obviously in the backcourt. Now you're looking at a team that can make an ECF push and eventually finals down the road.
I'm with you, Joel. I feel similarly. The big get for the Cavaliers needs to be spacers. Now, Riv, I want to focus on something you said, because you said that Jared Allen might have to go. I'm looking at this series, and it's evident that Jared Allen is probably the most crucial piece to this Cavaliers team. Now that, I say that because I think Garland and obviously Mitchell need to be the offensive firepower they need. But in terms of a presence down low, if Jared Allen's not on the court, they simply don't have a presence down low. And that's with respect to Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley needs to hit the weight room. I mean, he is an amazing defender. Obviously, we understand that he was a defensive player of the year. But right now, Mitchell Robinson's having his way with him. Mitchell Robinson is simply big broing him. And Jared Allen's the only one that could hang with Mitchell Robinson on this Cavs team. And yes, even still, Mitchell Robinson's getting the better of Jared Allen. But really, Jared Allen needs to assert himself, needs to assert his dominance in the paint down low. Because right now, the Cavs simply lack that. And if you let go of Jared Allen, who are you going to replace? You're right now relying on Evan Mobley. Who knows how his genetics are and how he gets older? Obviously, we understand Evan Mobley's still a young player, still has time to grow into his body, but that's on him. He has to get into the gym. He has to start putting on some muscle, and that's something that you can't just say, I trust and rely on, because that's something that we have to see. We already see it in Jared Allen that he has that body, that presence to be that dominant force down low. Right now, Mitchell Robinson's just getting the better of him. Jared Allen's letting the moment get too big for him. I just think that right now, the key is to surround this team with talent, not remove it. And unless you're going to get solid pieces back for Jared Allen, solid draft capital, role players that can help right now, then I don't think moving Jared Allen is the right idea. I think the primary moves that need to be made are simply getting shooters on this team, not getting rid of them. Because I jokingly said, hey, you could use a guy like Kevin Love on this team. And in my joke was a little realism there, because Kevin Love, although he wasn't great for the Cavaliers at all, played so poorly that he ended up losing his spot in the rotation. You could have used a guy like him off the bench where he gives you some size. He gives you the ability to stretch the floor. It doesn't leave you with the necessity of having to play Mobley and Jared Allen at the same time. So that's the only thing that I look at and just think that the Cavaliers might have made a mistake there. But other than that, I was never under the assumption that the Cavaliers' year to win was right now. This was a job that was met. This was a move made, the move being Donovan Mitchell to the Cavaliers. This was a move that was supposed to benefit this team for the future, not immediately. And you could look at that in a year or two with Donovan Mitchell and crew. But now Garland has a taste of the playoffs. Mobley has a taste of the playoffs. Jared Allen now has an enhanced role in the playoffs, where it hasn't been his best performance, but now he gets to see what the bright lights are like in a situation where there's some pressure, some high leverage situations. I think you have to trust the process, but understand that there just needs to be a little retooling and the additions that need to be made for this Cavaliers.
I think part of that, Drew, is that while Jared Allen may have gotten the Cavaliers to point B, we all knew the moment they drafted Evan Mobley, he was going to be best playing center. And that front court tandem would not work the whole time. What, the Celtics
did something good.
They probably did
Jim
something
Brown
good.
said 3. Yeah.
I want to see.
Is Tatum still selling or what? Because I saw.
Yeah, he's mid.
He sucks, bro. I'm done with him, man.
I want to see
Griffin's in the game. Don't know why.
He's been solid. Jared Allen go to a team like San Antonio, and then the Cavs get Keldon Johnson, who's got so much athleticism, as being kind of put in the wrong role right now in San Antonio, but can shoot it at a high level off the catch. Keldon Johnson on this Cavaliers team would be a huge difference maker. And defensively, I think he has the tools to be an above average player in that end of the floor.
I think I personally would rather Devin Vassell, but I like the thought process that you're going with, John.
They're not going to Vassell, I don't think.
Yeah, I know. But I like the thought process. And Keldon and Allen contracts fit. But my only thing with that, Drew, is you expect Mobley in 2 to 3 years to be able to play the 5. And if Mobley can play the 5, you don't really need Allen, because it kind of defeats you kind of want more spacing or stretch.
You need Mobley to get strong, though, if he wants to be playing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But you want it to be like, then Boston did it perfectly. Like, nobody can do what Golden State did, have 2 non-spacing shooting bigs, because they have the greatest shooters ever. So it's easy for them. With Boston, you see Horford can space the floor. Rob is down low. You have a mix of the medium. So it's like he's not clogging the paint. You kind of want that for Mobley, in a sense where you want Mobley at the 5, or maybe even Mobley stretch out a little bit, but I don't know how long that's going to take. But you want Mobley at the 5. You want somebody at the 4 that can stretch out, have a 4-out offense that gives a lot of space, So I think Allen, that's great. Like, he's great. Nobody's denying. But even in his, he wasn't a good rim protector in this series. He hasn't been protecting the rim. Guys have been bullying him to the paint. He just looks terrible. Like, he doesn't look like, they all young. Do.
Yeah. He really just looks young and inexperienced and light. What outside of Jared Allen, what assets are the Cavs going to be able to move to get that wing?
I think it comes from free agency. I think you got to offer some vet mins. You know what I'm saying? I think you got to offer some 5-year deals.
MLE to have.
Yeah, I think personally, 2 wings, not even 2. A wing, a guard, and a big. You can have, as long as you get a starting wing, Okoro can go to the bench, and it's fine. He can be a bench wing. That's fine. You need a guard to kind of replace one of the guards, like a better Rubio. You need a big. Yeah. You need a backup big.
That's fair.
All right, so right now we're chats, and then we're gonna end the show. I know we were supposed to talk about Atlanta, but I think we'll save that for another show.
Yeah,
so
thank you. Good move.
No, I've got you, bro. And of course, we got to watch some basketball games. So first one comes from, of course, our brother, Pick a Side Memes. He says playback tomorrow. Listen,
can we do?
I'm with it if y'all are with it. I don't know why y'all have been ducking the playback. Y'all, I mean, I was very actively trying to do it yesterday. Y'all were. No one answered me. I'm with it tomorrow. I'm saying live on Pick a Side. We're going live on playback tomorrow.
You know, you can always
do it. Is to be determined.
How about text me?
You can always go on.
Oh, you're right. You're right. I know, but I'm not trying to go dolo. The whole point is that we do it all together.
Are we going to
be if we do it? Yeah, I'm gonna say, are you good? Are you cool to do it for the Kings and the Warriors?
I'll be home at
all right, done. Sign.
I'll be there. Locked and loaded. Right now, at the first quarter, because I got a game at 9, but I'll be there.
All right, that's fine. All right, the next one comes from William Hart. He donated $4.99. Thank you, King. There goes John, and I hope that he at least puts up the.
I meant to say this at the beginning of the show, but shout out to my guy Zach Smith, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be on the podcast right now. He's the reason why I switched shifts. But he just texted me and said, "Drew's Wi-Fi make Joel's look fucking pristine." He's spitting right now. I'll be honest.
My Wi-Fi's poop.
It's been a little janky.
That's a shame, and no one said anything. That's crazy. Regardless, we'll fix that up next time. Actually, I hope there's not a next time where I don't have to worry about this anymore.
No, we're going back to the studio, Gangy.
Yeah, thank God. So William Hart says, I know this is off topic, but who was most dominant in their respective sport, Brady, LeBron, or Tiger?
I don't watch.
That's a good question.
Brady has 7 for his run was just unbelievable.
I might go Braun.
Yeah, not crazy. I feel like it's between I mean, this is a great question. I might go Tiger for his first few runs. The guy just never lost a Grand Slam.
I was gonna say I'm not a golf head, but I feel like Tiger has like every record like for golf, basically, right?
I feel like LeBron does too, and he won a lot. So
that's a fact. Yeah.
I'll probably go LeBron.
Yeah, it's hard to compare the individual sport of Tiger to the team sport of Brady and LeBron.
Tiger probably won, though. He probably won everything golf could ever imagine. Yeah. So, you know what? Fuck it. Tiger.
All right, next one comes from our brother Q Bugavelli. He says, I'm glad you took CJ Dehls. The discourse on him has been silly. People disregarding the tape because of tests. Jaren Hall had a high grade. He ain't CJ.
It's interesting because looking back, I think I wouldn't be shocked if the Titans took Richardson if they were to make that huge leap. If you're going from 11-3, shoot for the fucking stars and get Richardson. Also, the people, I don't know what his name is, but the people who like administer the S2 testing scores, he said that he couldn't be specific, but he said that 2 of those scores on that list were incorrect. And he's saying like one time there was, one of the bad scores, he didn't say specifically, but one of the scores he was insinuating that was bad. He's like, oh, the guy came in, it was late, he had a bad day, he was hungry, all this stuff, and he retook it and got a better score down the road. So I think that like 18 or whatever CJ Stroud got, I think that was all just a misunderstanding or not true, whatever it was, because he came out, I think, on the Pat McAfee show and explained it.
So the next one, another donation from Cuba Gavilli. He says, Branch is able to play safety and nickel and plays those better cornerback. Jags wanted CJ, so makes sense in my opinion. That's fair enough. I think
Branch is a dog.
That's a fact.
Go ahead, Drew.
Cuba Gavilli with another donation. Dude was in his bag today. He says, Bill needs a receiver bad. That is 100% a fact. But where they are, I don't know if they're going to end up getting a high-level one. Unless, I mean, listen, I still believe in Jalen Hyatt. I think Jalen Hyatt's going to be a very – and with the Bills draft, they already have Stephon Diggs, who both is a route technician and a burner. So if you got a guy like Jalen Hyatt who could take the top off, and, of course, you have Josh Allen, receivers better, Jalen Hyatt would be a great pick for them too. The next donation – Fuentes, $5. Thank you, King. He said, excited to meet you on Thursday. Tough.
Yes,
all right,
sir.
So we look forward to seeing you.
At the Ashford. We're going to be, sorry to cut you off. We're going to be at the Ashford in Jersey City. That link is at Instagram. I know Joel put it on Instagram, but we're going to be at Ashford in Jersey City. If you're interested, just DM one of us. Hit us up. Ashford, Jersey City for the NFL draft. All of us are going to be there.
What time?
And it's going to be viral. Anytime the NFL draft is on. It's going to be, I don't know. Yeah, it's a good question.
Around that.
Donation comes from team $5. She said, how cool would it be to each have your own favorite teams reach the second round of the playoffs? That would be pretty sick. I mean, Riv, does that really – I mean, I guess it counts. Golden State is his favorite team.
Nuggets, right? Okay.
I would be coming if all 8 of my teams made
Grizzlies too. Oh, Grizzlies making this comeback.
If they bench Dylan,
better chance that I eat my there's a better chance I eat my own shit when that happens.
Bro,
William donates $5.
God, bro, if I had all my teams make the second round, oh my god, I don't know what I'd do to myself. That'd be crazy.
Well, Riff, you have so many teams that can't even.
I was gonna say you'd have the whole 8 teams.
You got 9.
John, you're a Denver, you're a Phoenix, and you're a Memphis fan, and they're all 0 rings.
And
that's gonna change the season.
This was a fan, like he was a fan of Memphis. Do you know that, Riv? Remember he was a Nets fan too. Do you remember that too?
You were net. Wow, you're just like me.
You gotta do better, bro.
I'm a Jokic, Ja, and D Book guy, but I wasn't that fan growing up.
That's why when I sit on this podcast and I have being a Lakers LeBron fan, it absolutely makes me sick to my stomach because I sit on a podcast with you guys who can't even pick a team, and I'm not talking about you, Joel. Obviously, William donates $5.
That was the only team I root for.
I was a John Moran fan since freshman year.
John, we might need you to pull up these super chats.
Yeah, the point is, what a win-win for both the Jets and the Packers. Good luck to the Jets. Ramsey about to be cooked again by A-Rod, just like the NFC divisional.
Shit.
That is tough.
I think it is a win-win though. Like everyone's talking about, like the Packers fleeced. I feel like 80% of my mentions when the trade went down was the Packers fleeced. Oh my God, how'd you give all this up? But I think at the end of the day, both teams got what they wanted. The Jets get their quarterback they needed. The Packers get draft picks for this year and for next year. I think it was good for both sides.
Yeah, sorry, my connection is absolute piss water, so I do apologize.
No worries.
Yeah, no, I would say we should let John probably read the super chats because it just keeps getting cut off.
Okay.
I'm not going to lie, Drew. Pat Mahomes' first 3 years was better than Herbert. Forget the statistics. Give me the MVP, Super Bowl MVP, champ, and All-Pro like 4 times. You ask me.
Yeah, just move on to the next one, please.
But yeah, Mahomes.
Hit the likes, people. Drop a like. Also follow. Don't draft, but Bears love Darnell Wright, late first rounder. They might trade down with the Titans/Texans, plus draft JSN. They got the 12th overall pick. JSN, Mooney, and DJ Moore. Fire emoji.
That's tough. I don't know if Darnell Wright's going to be there late first. These tackles are going to go fast. Every team in the NFL needs more tackles. So I think if you really want Darnell Wright, you be able to move down, but probably not past like 15 to the Jets.
You know what time it is. Shout out Kenny Pickett.
Big Big O.
Lake Show, stand up. But shout out Jets Nation. Let's fly. Orlando, Big O. Man, to have
Respect
a Steeler
that,
fan here that understands KP since essentially that's about to happen. It's truly.
John, tell me KP's stat line this year. What's it going to be?
28 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, 3 rushing. He's going to have 3,700 passing yards and 350 on the ground. Play 16 to 17 games. And the Steelers
have how many wins? 10 and 8, 10 and 7?
Yep, 10 wins.
Okay.
Yep. I also feel like we might take Jordan Addison at 17. I don't know. I don't want them to. I want them to take a cornerback, but I could see them going offense.
Did I make an order for delivery?
Yo, he's so serious, bro.
Holy.
He knew he was doing that too. I don't know.
No way.
For a second, knew his mic was not muted.
It's like CP3 left the Lob City curse on the Clippers.
Curse.
Yeah, they have had probably the worst luck we talk about teams with the worst luck. It's definitely the 76ers, the Pelicans, the Hornets. Honestly, they've had some terrible draft lottery luck, missing Dwight and also more recently AD. But I think the Clippers will be top 4 in terrible luck.
Do you think the Knicks are in that conversation?
In the draft lottery, yes, they have had some pretty bad luck, but not on the level like the Pelicans with their injuries or the Clips. Because like those two teams have been shafted one era after another by injuries, man.
Denver's down 10 at the end of the first quarter.
Denver?
Anyhow.
I didn't realize
45 seconds.
I thought the game started at like 9, bro. That's the thing. I'm just like built to expect that. Let me watch that.
Derek White's so good.
But with all that being said, I'll wrap up this episode of the Pick a Side podcast, episode 275. And as always, be sure to drop a like and follow. Rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and much more.
And go download Boom Fantasy, deposit $10+. We're on a contract year, franchise tag. We need those numbers. We need those deposits. You guys always ask, how do I support the show? If you go download Boom Fantasy, deposit $10. That is the best.
Save us, please.
So be sure to do so. Links are in the description. And as always,